control the tempo that Vivo KEYD might put them under. Because it's Icebox, because Vivo KEYD are on defense, I'm not expected to see this map necessarily, but I am very, very curious on how MW0 is going to do on the Sova. First ever official game on this agent. Let's see what kind of power he packs.
I'm looking at Heat. They're already just looking to try and push straight into mid. It's going to be a brawl within the first few seconds, and already ACEND, Zeke have put themselves in that advantage. We expected this one to be a fist fight, a brawl throughout. We know that ACEND like to take teams on that individual skill. For now, though, we're going to see them split again. Morris has managed to come in from behind. The shot's connecting and actually drops the spike. Although they've been isolated by the Sage Wall, this now becomes a little bit more awkward for the side of ACEND. And they are in a 3 versus 2.
The fact that he's playing a Killjoy means that he might be going on those lurks a bit more. He usually plays the duelist and is playing the tempo like a duelist despite being on a very different agent. MW0 has the recon that just coming online, has been sort of playing in that kitchen position. Burris might have got more than he bargained for, and he still makes it work.
See, this was something we wanted to talk about going into the match, was the fact that in the press conference, Murs went, you know what? I'm not going to be changing my role. MW0, he's going to come in. He's going to be the one changing. I'm sticking to everything I was doing before. That was a lie.
Yeah.
Because he has definitely switched his agent for this one, as he's moved away from the Reyna and gone on to the Killjoy. I'm going to say for now, it doesn't look like he needed the dismiss because he just killed the majority of the enemy team anyway.
And that was the concern for Mirrors in particular, because like Achilles highlighted on the desk, usually plays Reyna. Almost got a 30 bomb against Envy to bring that series into overtime back in Masters 3. Can he have that same kind of performance on the Killjoy? Very different role. He's already got 4 kills already. You never know. He might get more than 29 this time.
Hey, you know what? If he's going to keep farming up that lockdown, I don't think they're going to mind too much. Now, in terms of investment for this round, it's a minute one. You have yourself a Marshall onto Zeke, a little bit extra spent just to try and make this one costly. And although the compositions are nigh on mirrored, this is one of the differences, is that he basically has to pop off individually, otherwise the value of that Reyna, not quite there.
I wonder why they gave the Marshall to Zeke and not CNED. I guess he does have the frenzy, obviously has that dash in that he could use, close the distance, but Heat's going to win out that up battle. Wants to get a bit more. Confidence is going to be an important thing for both of these players when it comes to getting these operator kills. I think naturally Heat's going to have that advantage on the defense because the defensive op is incredibly strong.
Yeah, the only thing I will say though is I feel like with CNED, I actually enjoy watching his attacking operator more on this map, but just because it's him. Yeah. I feel like in 99.9% of cases I'd agree with you, but just because it's CNED, I'm gonna wholeheartedly disagree. But a 4 versus 4, Bone Cold has managed to find one back, but the time is ticking. And a pretty good position for Joe to try and at least do a little bit of extra damage. He's just going to fall back, not opting to take too many risks here. And MW0, well, he's doing a lot of damage. They're going to get themselves the plant. It's not too bad for ACEND, making some extra cash. Okay, yeah, there we go. Making some extra cash and only killing off one player because eventually MW0 will get it done.
Do you think for ACEND though, I mean, it's early days yet, but did you feel that their biggest problem in Masters 3 was just that inexperience?
Potentially. Like, I think they had some tough matchups, and I definitely think that they probably should have gone through the map that ended up eliminating them, like obviously having the sort of almost choke or what it looked like, and their opponents obviously being probably the most experienced team in terms of previous FPSs. So it's possible that that was the reason. I don't think that should make a difference in this match.
Yeah, and because Vivo KEYD suffer from the same thing. They even said in the sort of intro that they're inexperienced, the pressure. That's the thing that they're struggling with, because this is also a very young squad. You're looking at Heat, who's only 18. MW is 20. The oldest is Joe, who's 25.
Don't say that.
Similar stuff. Yeah, it makes us feel ancient. I'm 29 in like 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. But ACEND is exactly the same. There's
Are you saying it'll be your birthday,
boys.
Right?
Yep. But it is apparently very unlucky to talk about your birthday or be wished happy birthday before your birthday.
Okay,
so,
happy birthday. Right?
Yeah, thanks, chat. I imagine all of like Twitch YouTubers just happy birthday. Yeah, I'm not surviving.
A lot of players currently stacked up on the B side. Of course, for Vivo KEYD, this is one of those rounds where they're playing it as a bonus. They do have a few rifles available, and there is one of them. He has just taken the head clean off of Zeke, and that was the lurk play. The rest of the team making their push, but they are moving into the majority of that Killjoy utility, and you can see the rest of the team already running on the rotation.
Ooh, Murris maybe wasn't expected to get spotted by that recon that considering, and I'll see Ned up on rafters. Just seeing if he can catch any players. Look at this movement though from Heat. He's just jumped onto the spot. Bone Cold at least catches him, and MW can take out ACEND at this point. Starzone now trying to up this tempo. The trades are good.
No, incredibly good. It's left just on to Bone Cold, and he can't get anything done. A bonus round victory for Vivo KEYD as they kick things off 3-0, and maybe a few worrying signs already for ACEND, because, yeah, these are the sort of confidence plays that I think are only going to pump up Vivo KEYD. Like, this is what they spoke about, that they're almost playing off of, like, emotion and feeling, and I'm sure for a lot of analysts that is one of the most triggering things a team can ever say, but...
Other than we play our own game.
We play our own game, yeah, we hear that one a lot. But just listening to the players, even as like before they walked out on the stage, during their walk out on the stage. It would the loudest
out of the team so far.
Just sitting down in their chairs, already screaming. So if they can keep this momentum going, well, ACEND are going to have to break it, that's for sure.
And ACEND for this map, we've not really seen. We've seen him twice since Masters. One of those was that dominant loss against Vision Strikers, but he's certainly online. I think the big question is, how good is Heat realistically against some of the other Jets or other players in the world? It's certainly up there, but you also need to see him almost put the rest of the team on his back, like Scream-esque almost.
I want to point out, Heat has 3 kills. They are all on Zeke. In each round, he's been the opening kill.
Oh, and the Rainer as well.
He found him, yeah, he found him with the Marshall. Last round, he peeked him with the rifle. He's done it with the Op. So he's already killed him, 3 different guns, 3 different rounds. Of course, in this one, an inherent disadvantage for Zeke. But they're being caught all over the shop. MW0 ready for the push, and these individual peaks are just garnering absolutely nothing for ACEND.
Effectively, the fact that Heat has the operator on this early, and this is looking to be a flawless. We'll see what it's like. At least Heat can try and like keep that gun in hand. It means that for the next 8 rounds on his defense, he might still have that sniper rifle in his little paws. Now, ACEND has picked up
30 seconds
that
left.
stinger, just a bit of a lighter buy from him. But from this distance, I don't think he's beaten Vixen.
I will be a little bit annoyed if he does somehow get something done, especially now he's been spotted. It just doesn't seem like the gun that's going to be able to do anything. Yeah, look how much health he still has left, Ryan. Let's
God bless the sting.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. A Prime Gaming flawless coming out for the side of Vivo KEYD. This is looking dominant thus far. And I want to touch, just before we get into the next round, on that map for a little bit. Because it was something brought up by the desk. Like, realistically, Bind, I think we can give in as a shoe-in for ACEND. But other than that, Ryan, I think the maps are actually pretty decent for Vivo KEYD.
Yeah, the fact that Vivo KEYD wanted to play this in the end says a lot about how prepared they're in. And you would expect ACEND to be relatively the same. They're not the kind of team that's going to bring out KO like we saw from Crazy Raccoon, but those teams that have kind of gone, yeah, we've been working on our icebox throughout this time, Team Secret, for example, have come in and surprised. It's not like out there when it comes to strategies, but the play is tighter. That to me is much more interesting from watching those games before. But now you were saying about that attack operator, it finally gets seen it off the board and Heat goes down first. Yeah,
they were waiting for Heat. They know he's going to be pushing in every single round, and as said, he's been finding an opener onto Zeke, so maybe Zeke will feel a little bit safer. He's like, oh god, good, he's dead. Maybe there's a chance I can actually survive in this round, but that 1 kill might not necessarily be the difference. We know how heavy ACEND like to lean into this A site. Thanks, Jess, for that one. But we're going to see the Killjoy all pulled. Maybe just preemptively expecting this. It's been destroyed, so I guess technically they have baited out a not on the other side from Bone Cold, but the whole team is now here ready and waiting.
Yeah, there's no flanks around. That's exactly what Keyless is checking, but now we might actually go on a bit of a lurk. He's realized how much space is here, and Zeke, the rest of his team are retreating, but he's able to hold on. These layers are so important, so the fact that Zeke has been dying first for the majority of the rounds, now we start to see him do exactly what you want to see from Arena. The amount of players that kept over on the A site just from him now. Everybody else has rotated away. Vivo KEYD don't want to take that risk, and they can't because Zeke is still going to push. Mariz does eventually take him down.
Yeah, but he's wasted enough time. The rest of the team set up ready and waiting. ACEND's operator will put a second in the grave, and well, this round in itself is looking grave. A cleanup for ACEND. Finally, they make it onto the board. But there's going to be a lot of cash here, Ryan. It's not the end of the world just yet for Vivo KEYD.
And they got Blade Storm as well. Even at this point, he just goes, I'm going to just retain my money for now, basically. No, I'm not going to buy up another operator. I think the interesting thing, though, is Keyless is 1 away from having a Viper's Pit. Ultimates are very much coming online on the side of ACEND. Hunter's Fury just used. I do like the fact that ACEND weren't deterred away from that A site. Usually you see that Killjoy ult being placed before the plant just to kind of scare them over to B, to fall into any traps. I mean, that's what ACEND did anyway, but the fact that Zeke was still alive, he's enough of a thorn in the side, and I think that's what makes him such a powerful player for ACEND. He's a pain in the ass to deal with.
I think you could say that for most of the members of ACEND, but I'm not going to disagree. Now again, we're going to see a different form of aggression coming out from Heat. Not going for the same battle. It's almost like that rotational AWP we've seen for years and years. He's brought it into Valorant as well. The question is anyone going to peek him? That A-site lean is definitely there once again, but you can see ACEND have already adapted. They're being caught off early in a lot of rounds from this aggressive operator, and instead, they are holding.
Utility on the side of ACEND, it's very difficult to really unearth when these operators are posted up. Most people will look at flashes as being the main thing, but like breach stuns, for example, the Aldrun is one of those things that is very good at it, but of course, being baited away by Joe, he is allowed to stay in place, and he knows that nobody's coming. The stack is moving over to A on the side of the defense.
Yeah, they put Joe there purely for the purpose of destroying the drone, just to make sure his position wasn't revealed, and as said, the rotation so far from Vivo KEYD has been spot on. They've got pretty much every player ready and waiting, but Zeke's Empress allows him to not only find that opener, heal up, and escape, and CNED has just popped one more. ACEND starting to roll into this A site, finding every single kill, and they're even looking to potentially try and hunt down the remainder.
That's
already.
Not a bad idea.
Look at the runaround. Like, Bone Cold's just like, right, if they're running away, I'm going to find them.
Oh, that's a nice little peek from Zeke. Like, he's still holding on, not likely to use that Blade Storm just for an eco when it comes up. Had to buy up that operator again. So saving these guns is important. So ACEND are doing well here. He can just keep chipping away. It's not like ACEND have been winning streaks of rounds in a row. Their economy is going to be okay, but not ideal. The fact that he almost feel pressured to take those fights. He fell into the ACEND trap.
It's such a difference maker. Like, I really would like, I don't know if the desk can be bothered. I know they like to have a little bit of a nappy nap while the game's on. I can actually see Jess from here, eyes closed, just enjoying herself. She doesn't have her headphones on, so she doesn't know I'm actually being very mean. But I want to know if there's a difference in percentage of rounds on the attack with CNED with an operator in his hands and CNED without. Because right now, it's been 100% to 0.
There's so many like stat nerds in the scene now. I'm sure that's something that like Platch have been leaning on. Seasonal is worthy of a shout as well with the work that he's been doing in the scene for that. And it is an interesting thing, especially when you have some Jets in this tournament that don't really play the op a lot. For example, later on we see Patapan. Not really known for the op. You got BA, he's amazing with all of the guns. He's the most well-rounded one. So CNED versus Heat is going to be interesting in various ways other than who gets the most killing kills.
The timing here is going to be everything. They didn't spot out Heat, and he's already taken off 2 heads. Not the start that they were looking for. He waited for his moment and found it perfectly. Still a good chance here, though, for an afterplant, but actually, straight away, we're going to see the Hunter's Fury just patiently waiting to see if he attempts another. Tagged him, but Bone Cold will survive. This should allow him to run. He's just connecting everything put into his crosshair, and you can see the confidence. He's running straight in. He spots the man at the back, but Bone Cold takes him down. Still a 2 versus 4 scenario. Some weaker weapons on the remaining players, so there is still quite a lot to do. And Bone Cold, he might catch a player with the Aldro now. A free kill for him at least, but his teammates being pressured. Killers needs to stay alive, and actually his pit's about to drop. Players low on the other side, a chance to try and clear them up, but it will be Mures to put him in the ground. Vivo KEYD, or should I say Heat, win them an eco.
See, I don't know about that as well. Just in the, it wasn't even an eco, I don't think. There was still a full buy. It was just Heat just decided to use that Blade Storm in that given moment.
I guess there were definitely a few pistols and SMGs.
Oh yeah, he sorry, MW0 did, but I think a couple of players, like Murs and stuff, still had guns in hand. It was a bit of a amalgamation, so very important for them to sort of win out in the end. It's just playing from this position. It was half played from Zeke, and Stazo was already in the motion of getting the Sage Wall up, the spike down. This kill is beautiful. What I like, though, is the Bone Cold pushing to get the Aldron kill. The rest of Vivo KEYD moves into, like, the site to split up that Viper's Pit. They completely isolate both Bone Cold and Keyless. That's a very difficult 2v4, whatever it was in the end.
Quick push through mid, wall to isolate 3 players. Actually looking in this direction, though. A good opportunity for Morris, but he's taken down almost instantly. Still, though, a couple of other defenders, and along with Bone Cold's Hunter's Fury, this execution looking a lot better. They need a response, and they need it soon. And while Heat, this time, I don't think there's a hero to be found.
Bone Cold having 2 Hunter's Furies in 8 rounds now.
Not bad.
That's not bad at all. Especially when it's mostly like, I think Stars are going to be planting the spike for the most part, not only just to get that res online, Hungry Hippos, those ult orbs, but the Sage Walls to just protect yourself whilst you're doing it. So Bone Cold has been farming away a little bit. They've seen it can't afford the Operator, which I'm pretty sure would be able to. He does have that Blade Storm as backup for the next round as well.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that adaptation from Ascend is one that I almost feel was necessary. Like, we've seen some slower rounds that give someone like Heat opportunities. Instead, they just take that away from him. And actually, there were 3 players in a pretty solid position from Vivo KEYD, maybe expecting that response, but we've seen Zeke step up, a couple of kills coming through from him, and they win this one with 4 players alive. So any chance of really destroying that economy that could have come through from the last round just dissipates in an instant.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mild hunt in the end even for Ascend, trying to catch onto the back of Heat. Achilles is the one that goes down. I do think that Ascend, though, isn't quite the case of CNED and friends as much as people may, certainly outside of EMEA, think. Like, Achilles is just a player, for example, that I feel just doesn't really maybe get the accolades as some other strong Sentinel players in the end anyway. He's looking at the 2 coaches, NBS. I think really he needs to join the Bold Gang. I think at this point, I think it'd suit him.
Stop trying to convert everyone.
Everybody.
We've been. It's happened to Achilles as
Jess
well.
and Yinsu are the main 2. Join the Bold Gang.
Yeah, of course, of course. I would like to see you try and say that to Potter. Again, though, it's going to be the battle of the Jets, and this time Heat comes out on top. As said, we've seen CNED be the difference in all the rounds, and you know what? I think Ascend agree with us. They've brought him back from the depths and allow for the reposition. He actually getting tagged up. He's going to have to fall back out of the site, and they're going to use this to try and claim some extra space. Zeke looking for a duel, hoping that someone's going to try and fight against him. But this time, Ryan, it's a lot more passive from Vivo KEYD.
Yeah, some of that post-plant, anti-plant utility coming out of the side of Vivo KEYD. Not really connecting all that much onto the star zone, to the point he's actually just staying in that spot. Depo likes to do it a little bit. Popped up onto the high ground. Bone Cold with a recon dart. It's going to see if any players come through on rafters, and it's just been watched keenly. This is a really nice post plan from Ascend, but Vivo KEYD still in it, dedicating the res as well. It's just Murray's left.
Oh, CNED's going to walk into him. Turns it into a 1v2 scenario. He's getting smashed with utility, but doesn't take much damage from it. The tap, and he actually gets the conversion! This man moves on to the Killjoy and finds every single headshot along the way. He's been on fire so far.
Just a change in the agent as well. That's 2 4Ks on Killjoy. He has another lockdown ready to go. And we were worried about Ascend's like mental, right? That's a hard round to come back from. And you didn't really expect Murray to be able to do that. And even just like the utility from Bone Cold and Keyless to try and like the shock darts whilst he was in that pocket around Jenny, wasn't quite connecting that well.
Yeah, that is a Red Bull clutch that can put you in the dirt. A 1 versus 3, CNED even flying over the top of his head, finding himself that sort of extra kill, and then just transferring.
Mitch, which was one of my favorite ones to do, was Ascend losing to Team Vitality in Stage 2. Like, it's just been throughout the year, Ascend have had to deal with this monkey on their back that, all right, you won Masters 1, you have to lead by example. With teams like Gambit and stuff, and some Turkish super teams coming up and down, Ascend have done well to stay, but to be on the top, that's been the awkward part.
Oh, they're still going to have a bye for this one. The rounds they have been winning have been relatively clean, and on the other side of things, of course, only 1 player surviving for Vivo KEYD, so there is still very much a chance to pull off a response, although we do normally see a fair amount of attack rounds on this map from, well, most teams playing it, so I am starting to worry a little bit for Ascend that I've bitten off a little more than they can chew this time. CNED, I think, has just decided, you know, I'm gonna bait that shot out because it has been Heat. I want to say winning that duel more often than not.
Across multiple players, yeah. I think CNED's won it. I think the only time he did win it was over towards this tube position, actually. So that mid pressure's coming in. They baited out the operator shot, so it's like, all right, we can't really go A this time. Zeke is 1 ult orb away from having an Empress. That might be quite useful, but the concern I have is that Murray's does have that lockdown. There is no Hunter's Fury to try and combat it this time. And with time being relatively low now for Ascend, that might be the play for Murray. Just get the lockdown, and then it's awkward, especially now that these utilities be dedicated and the plant's going down.
Yeah, the worry for me is that that last retake only worked because of a clutch. Now, sure, this is a completely different scenario, but Ascend have done well for the most part in these scenarios. The lurk play as well from Zeke is already going to shut down one, and they expected him to leave. Instead, Starzo sticks around. He's going to pop the head of 3 and leave just one man standing. He doesn't care that he's been detected.
No.
Okay, it doesn't matter. He gets the first one, but he's got 4 more to find, and Zeke is lurking behind. What a round from Starzo. A pop-off to respond to the previous, and ACEND right back on the horse. And I want to see the economy right now for Vivo KEYD, because as I said, they survived that last one because of a clutch. That means their money might not be great.
Especially Heat buying up that op time and time again.
Yes.
I mean, this is the round to eco on, right? You want to go into round 12 with as much as possible, so if you keep trying to scramble up a buy, especially now that you do have a Viper's Pit, you do have a Bladestorm one ult orb away, so Heat is going to be pretty fine for this round. And a good one to win. I like that we're seeing teams try to adapt around that lockdown play of just keeping one player that's going to get detained, but if you can get a couple of kills, it's 100% worth it. Reminds me of Guild on Haven as well from LCQ.
I like this as well from ACEND. I think they've realized, okay, chances are Vivo KEYD want to battle for one of the ultimate orbs. Like, if your Jet is one away, you're going to be looking to try and get that Bladestorm. So they fight both sides of the map, one side with the drone, the other with the passive players waiting. CNED, who's going to expect him to be there? Like, he is peeking out off the back of his teammate's screen, going just that little bit deeper to allow him just a bit of space. And that's enough for him to basically shut down this round. There should be absolutely no way back into this one.
And just the fact that he didn't repeat from the same angle, he's still going for these fights, but just changing it up enough. He's intelligent to know where he could see what on any given position. Whilst he loses that, well, he doesn't lose it, but he doesn't get the kill in that first fire whilst he's playing on stairs. He backs off a little bit, catches Vixen. I think they know where he is, roughly.
Oh, they definitely do now.
They had an inkling before.
Well, him dying doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's a Prime Gaming flawless coming out from ACEND as well, as they do start to build back into this half. What was looking fairly dangerous off the back from an incredible performance from Muriz, and I guess Heat as well. The thing is, though, a 6-6 scoreline, although I will say that I think Vivo KEYD can be fairly happy with that, it's definitely not a death sentence by any stretch for ACEND.
No, not at all. I think it's not even a case of... Especially because it's been so long since we've properly seen ACEND on this map. I think they played it once in some of the third page.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to look into Stax' eyes, because every time I did during the press conference, I got more scared of him. I was like, this guy's not screwing around.
Are we seeing what we're seeing on attack here? Are they still changing it up? I was like, yeah, I could understand that they want to flood their money a little bit, just show off that, hey, we can get free operators if we want, but we're not Team Liquid, so we're not going to.
They do still have
they still have 2.
I guess they just want to fight. Oh, dear. Okay. Maybe a little bit over-aggressive that time from Heat. Try to find someone on the B side. It's not where CNED has been. Now, I guess it's because they've also used the Viper's Pit on A. So they've tried to lock down that side of the map, and on the other side, the Viper's Pit ends up actually just being their own teammate. That is an interesting pit, though.
Yeah, and Zeke actually leaving the operator on the ground, so he can switch and swap if he wants. And I like what CNED was doing. He got that initial kill. He was still firing. You know, there's an operator over on B main on the attack, so maybe somebody from A pushes and they run into Zeke with an operator. It's just that kind of... It's not really a play that you're going to expect on the side of Vivo KEYD.
Vivo KEYD right now have absolutely no clue what's going on. I can tell you that for the exact reason that Viper's Pit, they could have crossed over. They don't know. There's also been a drone that's gone through their own Viper's Pit on the other side of the map. And in reality, the attackers are pushing B long. So there is no information whatsoever. You can see Joe's just started like calling to his team. They're actually on B. You've gone A. They're planting here. I'm on my own. Is he about to get shot in the back? He is. Just had no idea. They've been completely confused, bamboozled by ACEND, and it leaves just 2 players left, Ryan, to try and bring back a round where I'm sure they just want it to end.
Yeah, and even the fact that MWZ had to use an owl drone from so far out to clear kitchen. Now that's the area that Kilos is in. Vixen in a 1 versus 5. I love that ACEND used that time.
Oh, no. That's heartbreaking. Prime Gaming flawless to close it out, though, Ryan. And yeah, I definitely think that's one of the more interesting uses for a Viper's Pit. Like, putting it down mid almost just as that, like, distraction to completely confuse their opposition. So I like it. I think it's something a little bit different. And I do start to wonder if there's going to be a few more little gimmicks or little things that ACEND are going to be throwing in off of that.
Well, it was just the fact that we had that tack timer after the tech is just, that could be ACEND going, hey, let's do this. Let's really get under their head. And also just tech pauses take the momentum out sometimes, that just having a plan, having an idea, just keeping the mental high. It's why that tap pause came in the end, but ACEND used it very much to their advantage.
Well, you know what? I assume we're going to be heading this one back over to the desk so they can have a little bit of a chat about what has gone on, and I'm interested to see what they thought of that final round as well.
It's lovely.
It's a fair assumption there, Tom. Heading back over to us for halftime. Equalized 6-6 with a flawless final round there for ACEND. But I like where we're at. Dead even going into halftime for both of these teams. We talked about it needing to get done for Vivo KEYD here on Icebox. And the way they started, and Muri specifically, 4K pistol round, he's feeling hot.
I mean, the man couldn't stop. Whether or not he's on a Killjoy or not, I don't think it matters to him. I think he just understands where he needs to be, how he needs to capitalize, and that's a strength for Vivo KEYD because on the pre-desk, didn't we say every other player on Vivo KEYD outside of Moritz?
Yeah,
didn't we
pretty
only
much.
give him like 10 seconds of airtime?
Yeah.
The man was like, where's my spotlight? Get me on the desk.
Right, and now he's top fragging for the squad. Of course, it seems natural that right behind him is Heat, and it didn't take us long to find our HyperX reflex moment of the day. It came in round 3. It was Heat finding a single kill on the A push by ACEND, but the reaction time there was sick. Let's see if we can get a look.
Yeah, it was just absolutely nasty from him, and hopefully we'll pull it up here in just a second so we can relive it. Hopefully we play it multiple times because it is very much a reflex moment. It's so very quick. Just that instant snap down.
We have this slow-mo. Can we get this in like a slow? Yeah, there we go. Run it nice
I love
and
it.
slow.
You said how many times can we watch it? I mean, it's so quick. We could fill 2 minutes with watching it 120 times.
It's a nasty shot. Like, because not only is it just like a chest flick, it's right on the skull. He gets it in the moment. In the moment that he pulls the trigger, he's already scoped out. He's dashing away to stay safe. It's just beautifully done.
So that was round 4. It gave Vivo KEYD a very early lead, and that's what you wanted to see. But we also have to talk about the way that ACEND was able to claw back into it.
All I gotta say, man, I checked out the stats on their attacking, and they start off incredibly slow, but not even just their pushes for plants were slow. They are on average 30 seconds slower to get the plant down throughout that entire half than any other time they've ever played Icebox. I don't know if this is a strategy for ACEND throughout this entire tournament, but 30 seconds on average slower than you usually hit site, man, that's slow.
Tom also, well, he flamed us first,
Yes,
but then
correct.
asked us to do some work on his behalf,
Yeah.
which feels like a weird approach to me,
That
but
is
he's
weird.
lucky that we love him enough to have done it. You asked what was the percentage of wins for ACEND in rounds where CNED had an op in his hand. They won 4 of 6 of those rounds. So, Tom, we're going to throw it back to you. Do what you will with those stats.
Math. 4 out of 6 is good.
That's
is
about
what I'll
70% of the time, right?
take. Something like that.
Yeah, that's what Bal was saying.
Yeah, but it's always 70%. No matter what the stat is, it's 70%.
Yeah.
But here we go. We've seen aggression from one Jet. We're getting some from another. Seen it up above. Is the drone check for him? Now they've actually got the wall up, and he has definitely been spotted. We'll be able to escape before any real trouble begins, but has to try and back away. Again, 4 players already over here, just leaving the lone player of Zeke.
Yeah, and you also have this toxic screen as well, which is purely retake. So Morris is going to see this go. Maybe the site's completely open because usually you see that toxic screen go up to try and retain the site. Zeke thought he was big braining, but Heat there just on the high ground catches him out on that crossfire. Lovely play, but that utility's already set up from ACEND. They are going to have to meander over. And with Morris still alive, I wonder how much he's lurking because right now he's just planted face first into ACEND's sightline.
Oh, this is aggressive already. They're going to get things back into a more even scenario, and it has to be the fallback of the opposing Jet and Heat. They haven't even managed to get themselves the spike down. This is a retake before they've even got the plant. ACEND just come running through, and it's left all on to Vixen. It seemed like the game plan, at least, from Vivo KEYD was a solid one, but ACEND disrupt them before they can get anything done.
I think so much of this game as well is just going to come down to those kind of fights where you want to almost condition the opponent. It's just, this isn't necessarily the smartest play for players like Morris to be facing up as aggressive like this kind of play. But if Morris wins that fight, he gets into the ahead of ACEND. And if they start whipping shots, which to be honest, we did see a little bit in Masters 3 of, I think that's the win condition. We're used to seeing that when ACEND are doing well.
Yeah.
But remember when they were, what, 4-0 down at the start? Didn't hear a peep from them.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Starzo's always like just moving that little bit. It's just how much he's moving. The more they're winning, the more he moves. That's what I've learned, at least.
It's like APM.
For now, though, a lot of information found. The drone down mid will spot a couple of players, and in fact, they're going to use this to bolster up their B defense. But this seems to be the plan in a lot of rounds initially from Vivo KEYD, is just have that spot over to B, see if they can find anything on the opener. If not, fall back, slow it down, maybe try and disrupt what ACEND have been doing.
There's a bit of information for ACEND to hear. A couple of the classic shots used to break that wall. It means that there is going to be a bit of movement across. The Marshal posted up on B main, so ACEND's going to keep an eye. And I don't think at this point Vixen's been, putting up that wall to try and bait the interest. It's an open sightline for ACEND to just keep tabs on it. Mid is being watched loosely from KEYD. And this is just good map control from ACEND. Nothing too egregious. They don't want to get eco'd at all. It's just patient stuff. And if Zeke as well can have a bit more success from this position, he's up on the high box on this defense. Means that Vivo KEYD need to be scared of all of these angles. It is Icebox at the end of the day.
Yeah, this could become a little bit rough. He's got the ability to dismiss if he needs it. Well, eventually it will come through. Starzo falls, so again, at least a player being dropped, but one death is not going to be too much of a cost for the defenders, and they'll find all the remaining kills fairly easily. 8-6, ACEND take the lead, but this is where we expect a response.
One other thing I wanted to mention as well with Murr is 14-9 currently. First official game on Killjoy. Probably to nobody's surprise, but it's still good to check. And he has been a player that I think has just been trying to find his feet. He's almost like the GTN FRZ of Vikings. Just the meta changing at the start of the year. A lot of teams playing double duelist, especially in Brazil. Once we went into a Sky meta, it's just... You could play Sky like a duelist. Now, you kind of can. You can play in various different ways. That's the beauty of that agent at the very least. You have freedom to play other stuff at the very least.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was 14-4. So I'm pretty sure he's died 5 rounds in a row. So it's been very explosive rounds from Murray's. That have definitely been highly impactful, but in terms of consistency, I think that's been the issue so far for Vivo KEYD.
Well, other than the 2 4K rounds, we're doing a lot of maths
let's stop that. You never do math on air.
Outside of the flashy rounds we've seen from him, he's just been chipping away. It's not like he's been multi-killing every single round.
Well, for now, this is a very weak purchase for ACEND. They've just got those bonus weapons from before. A pistol alongside the Spectres. The range game is going to clearly favor the side of Vivo KEYD. And by the looks of it, they're going to have a fairly easy B plant because the rest of the players are currently looking to try and challenge into mid.
It's scary though, you don't really have that Aldrin. It was used already from MW. You might not even had the money to get it at this point. If you're looking at Heat, he's only got 25 armor, so even though this is a full buy, only just in some of these cases. But despite going down, there's no lurks, there's no cute plays from ACEND, even though you are taking the attention for Vivo KEYD, that are kind of watching behind him a little bit. Wall. Yeah, Zhao is playing very close.
Ooh, I'm wondering if they're going to try and counter all this. Starzo has his own that he might just look to try and peek out. They're going to already clear out one, but with the rifles in hand, they should just look to spam it through, and the cleanup doesn't take too long whatsoever. A solid hold from the side of Vivo KEYD. Someone expected in a round like this, and well, the retake plan from ACEND not working out this time.
Yeah, Zhao sort of offering himself, Joe offering himself up pretty well there. I think just those kind of moments, so whilst he does go down, like you said, that Sage Wall came in to try and block a defuse. ACEND in that moment panicked a little bit, don't you think? It was just a bit of a, why is he here? And at this point, the rest of the team can capitalize. One of the interesting things that I saw in an interview with, I think it was Morris, about MW. MW's going to be playing relatively passively. You sort of expect him from being a pure duelist player up until now to maybe playing a bit more aggro, especially with Morris moving over to a Sentinel. But no, it's been Heat making those entrances, and the playoff from that from Vivo KEYD has been pretty impressive so far.
I like the attempt, but the peekaboo spot out from Zeke hasn't worked whatsoever, and there's a push coming straight in up to the side. They're just looking to try and run this one straight through. Murray's leading the charge, and he's managed to get quite far. I don't know if they've realized he's got all the way through, and Bone Cold's going to be the one to catch a bullet for it. Now Killers is in a horrible spot. Either has to face the wrath of the full team, or try and catch them on the way, and he does exceptionally well. Starzo even going to wall up over the top, try and battle them, but he takes the brunt of the damage. A 2 versus 2 scenario in the lurk coming through from Heat is not going to be expected at all. It's left onto Starzo to try and bring this one back, and he gets nothing. Heat with 3 kills, scoreline equalized, Vivo KEYD back.
Even then, you're forcing ACEND to do what Stazo did, the sort of wall boost plays, the kind of things that you see from well-known streamers that play the agents, right? It's forcing over-egregious plays from ACEND on his defense just to try and catch Vivo KEYD off guard. But like I mentioned, that team play has been very impressive, considering you've only had MW0 in this roster for a couple of months, if that, at the very most.
Yeah.
But even just in general, this squad is very new. The interesting thing as well I wanted to mention, MW0, Joe, used to play on Game Landers together. So there is a bit of synergy. It's not like MW0 is completely outcasted from this side. And I think so far, that's probably one of the reasons why this Vivo KEYD team looks so in sync with each other.
Yeah, especially for a roster that I think a lot of people are just looking at them as that individual
firepower
team.
All in, no brain.
It's not. It hasn't really looked that way. They've had those lurk plays, decent trades. Sure, there's been a few flashy plays along the way, but they're looking much more well-rounded. Now, it's something I said yesterday when we saw the loss of Gambit. I never really like to judge a team just on their Icebox performance because I feel like it's a more simplified map than a lot of the others we have within the pool. So I don't want to take too much, but
sometimes that's nice, though.
True.
Especially for a first map that we've seen Vivo KEYD in a while. It's just a good, like I said with Team Secret yesterday, stress tests. You're not going to be over-egregious with compositions. And Boat Cold, again, dying in the same position as the last time. This one, it's an eco, so it's not really too much. But if they could scare Bone Cold away from playing in these spots where he wants to keep an eye out, that's going to work very well in Vivo KEYD's favor. Like, confidence is so important for either side, but especially when it's on for Vivo KEYD, that's a freight train.
There's a few ults fairly close for the side of ACEND, so any kills they can get might actually benefit them quite a bit, but for now the hold,
that's lovely movement
from Vivo KEYD is looking stellar. Killers will at least get one, but it's not really going to harm the Brazilians too much. 9-8 as they confirm their lead now. And as I said, we're waiting for a response because a lot of the time we do expect some stellar attacking sides, and thus far that's what we've got from Vivo KEYD.
Well, we see the operator coming out of CNED at this point. It is in. It sort of adds to that narrative, I suppose, the story of just, you know, it's might be much better when it comes to having those operator rounds, and I think this is an important one really for ACEND to win. It's been streaky, just winning a pistol, last 3 lost. And ultimates as well. There's enough for ACEND to work with here to really cause issues for Vivo KEYD. Viper's Pit's going to be the first one used in a direction where a lot of traffic is going from the Brazilian side.
Killer's is going to pop it, but back off, just trying his best to avoid the drone. And actually, they're going to make this very awkward for him. Now, he's got to try and go back in just to keep the integrity of the Viper's Pit.
Look at Joe.
Then he has to try and back out. So this is becoming quite a problem. Zeke as well popping the Empress as they look to try and push through, and Killers has actually been trapped, but it almost works as a bit of a bait if they tried to push him down. There were plenty of players ready and waiting. Even still, though, it is going to be the plant come through, and he manages to get the opener.
The Viper's Pit being down now is not really too much of an issue. The lurk was attempted from Joe, but in fact moved away. I think he was caught by the turret setup in the end from Morris, and now the Hunter's Fury coming through, trying to see if he can catch anybody as another Viper's Pit's dedicated on the defense, or the attack this side even. It's a bit of a mess, but ACEND coming out.
Yeah, they're doing well from this, but that's just a triple, a quad spray down from MW0.
He didn't even use the recon dart.
He's just stood there with it in hand, waiting at the end. I can't believe it. I think we need a replay of whatever he just did, because that spam through, that play is one of the reasons they wanted this hot property. It's alone, but you know what? I feel like this is almost looking like that 10 scenario. It's like, yeah, we've loaned him out, but they might just have to pay the big bucks, because these are the sort of plays that are making the difference.
Stars are going down so early in that as well. We've seen that a couple of times now from ACEND.
He broke them. Put some hurt onto ACEND. They are not that far away from closing this map.
It would be a knock. I think it's a similar case perhaps to some of the topsy-turvy games we saw yesterday. Just the surprise result on the map pick of the underdog, but the rest being relatively clean. But you don't know with ACEND. That's the thing. It's a test of mental. Sentinels, we know what they're like when they lose. They bounce back. And even then, Furia scared them a little bit yesterday. Gambit, it was a bit more clinical, but still an area where you kind of go, especially me, wants to see Gambit do relatively well in this tournament, if I'm being biased. So the fact that they looked a bit awkward against Team Secret is like, okay, especially when Vision Strikers look clinical, to say the very least. And I think that's what's been missing from ACEND, especially with those peaks. A couple of times they've lined up and just got mowed down. Murray's with that clutch, and now obviously MW0.
Maybe a few shaky scenarios, but I really don't want to take anything away from Vivo KEYD. They've been fantastic. They've had those players that are performing to the standard we expected, but even still, Zeke hoping to try and find something on aggression, not really getting anything for it. They are, however, walking into the blade storm of ACEND, and if anything can turn around, it would be this player with this weapon.
I also think this is just a good map for MW0 when it comes to playing solo for the first time, because it is just very straightforward with using that utility. Like the Owl Drone going onto A to temper some of that defensive aggression, Recon Dart onto the back of the site as well. And it is working because ACEND now are starting to try and make those hero plays. What Heat was punished with on the defense, now Zeke is, and Keylez with that Sheriff wanted to try and surprise. It was cute, but Vivo KEYD are not going to fall for it. Not lost a player yet.
Yeah, I think this is the man we need to be watching though. If there's anybody who can at least make this costly, it is going to be ACEND, but again, in these afterplants, I've been fairly impressed by Vivo KEYD. They look strong, haven't really been making too many silly mistakes, and for now, they are going to lose the first. Bone Cold managing to find a kill. Starzo's found another one. The knives still standing, but they dissipate. A few missed shots here and there, and although it started to look a little shaky, Vivo KEYD will make sure there is no shenanigans in this eco round.
Yeah, nice attempt. Also being onto Murray's and Joe going down. Not a big deal. Like, Joe being 5-15 is just kind of par for the course for him. Like, technically, like, ACS is one of the lowest in the team. He is the IGL, to be fair. And also playing the Sage, he is just... He's like FedEx with that spike. He's just
they got 3 superstar players. Like, does he need to frag? I feel like if they do not win this game now, I'm not going to be looking at just Joe. I'm going to be saying, okay, what went wrong elsewhere?
Scoreboard Stevens might, but we're just saying no.
Here we go. Again, a very fast-paced take. They'll know that there's a buy coming up here for ACEND, and then the last time they spammed their ultimates to get it through, they've spotted out killers early on. What is the response here? MW0 is already going to tag him at the back, so he's going to be isolated. But Starzo, he's managed to thread Danito. He gets nothing, though. The turnaround from Joe. We mentioned that fragging ability. That might be the most important kill of the round. Still, though, Bone Cold trying to do something in response. He's actually getting shot back, but he gets the kill onto Vixen anyway, turning it into an advantageous position, but they've still got plenty to isolate. And as we mentioned already, these afterplants thus far have been strong. This kill might be everything. I don't think he actually spotted the gun barrel pointing through. He's going to catch him with a dart out. A teammate even helps as well. It's left on to ACEND and Zeke. And we'll make that just Zeke. A 1 versus 2 scenario. The time already ticking so far, and he's just going to have to save his gun. A big round for Vivo KEYD. They have got their 12th.
Even the case where we saw Murray's pushing through towards Snowman through that toxic screen. He gets the 1, he catches onto Bone Cold. Keylez is still lurking around there, but MW0 yet again is there to trade. Him going down, not a big deal considering the streak of rounds that we've seen from the attacking side. Oh, this is the ACEND that we really didn't want to... Pretty sure all of them were post plants as well, which is not too much of a stat to look into on Icebox, really.
There's still some pieces missing. It's not going to be a good attempt from ACEND. They've got some rifles on maybe the players that matter, I guess, but ACEND's definitely not been, well, that sort of world-dominating player that we expect to see, especially on this map. For now, though, let's see what they can do. It is, again, straight after the pause, straight after their opponents try and adapt. Vivo KEYD pick up the pace. They're going running straight in towards this site. Zeke's already dead, and it's Murray's again. 2 kills to open. Starzo at least is able to respond. But the orbs already being retrieved. Maybe trying to get a little bit closer to that res. Joe is going to get himself another. Still quite far away from bringing a player back, but they might not need it at this point. ACEND has found one, but at a cost of a lot of HP. There is, however, a res on the other side. ACEND would need to try and find a player here, and Bone Cold has been brought back, putting them in an advantageous spot. Keylez has found another, making this one look more than possible, but he still stands alongside MW0. These two have been unbelievable thus far, but now it's just on to 1. It looks like an impossible scenario. 10 HP to try and kill off 2. The shot dart isn't really going to do anything. Bone Cold tag, but it doesn't matter. It will be ACEND to live to fight another day. And Vivo KEYD not out yet. That was a round they could have won.
Yeah, and the fact that ACEND have been struggling in those kind of rounds, we haven't seen them have those insane clutch outs. And MW0, he had those shock darts ready to go, but just the decisions, he inexperienced maybe on the role playing at least somewhat of a part. I'm sure if it was on Raze, he would have blast packed his face right in there to an extent. But really good play from CNED, Starkso, Bone Cold, especially losing 2 players so early in that round and baiting out an ultimate. And with that buy, that's the kind of tight ACEND play that you really want to see in a tournament like this.
Again, though, it's those openers. Like, KEYD still managed to get 2 straight into the site. And
it's not deterring ACEND though, look. They're still pushing. Like, they're putting up the Sage Wall, the Aldrone to get information. It makes sort of re-aggressing onto this A site more difficult. But Zeke is still just trying to face. He's been doing it a little bit, punished mostly, but I do like this angle. Joe being able to wall it up, there's not really going to be too much seen. And KEYD at this point, not over-aggressing, it's just straightforward post-plant, sit back, killjoy lockdowns, creating a lot of different space, and a resurrect if they need it.
And on the other side of things, sure, there's a couple of ults that are not far away, the Blade Storm, also the Empress, just 1 kill needed to get either of those online. And they've got a lot still to do. Already getting spotting out. They've got this retake wall available. CNED is going to get 2 already. Looking like this is possible, but Vixen fighting. Looking to try and spray them down. It's left all onto Heat. The Operator in hand. He's been spotted, but what is that flick? He's found himself one. Just trying to bait Zeke off the defuse, and he's already done it. Just leaving it down to this last player. A whiff spot, but he's buying time. And Zeke is just trying to stick it. Heat is going to close it out in the exact fashion we've seen from KEYD throughout this map. It will be the Brazilian.
13-0 in home ground against Gambit. We're going to look at it on that side. And Bone Cold on the Brimstone, or the Bone Stone, as I like to call it.
Oh, God. I think the thing I like as well is, again, I feel like we've been lied to by Mures about his agent composition and the changes, because he was always known for his sort of duelist on this map, and instead he's actually switched things up once again and gone more into that Sage style, giving a little bit more of extra space to Joe to now move over to that Viper. So I'm excited to see what they got cooked up for us. Of course, we still have to premise that this map is heavily favored for ACEND. This is their choice for a very good reason. But can KEYD truly pull off the upset?
It's whether Joe can sort of keep up to pace with the Viper. So far, he's under a lot of pressure. Starkso is there to try and chase it up, and MW0 not phased by this at all. Knows that the spike's been planted relatively close to him, wanting to use this attacker's toxic screen to his advantage, but there's a couple of bait plays out, and Frenzy wins against Starzo, who was already pretty low health, to be fair.
Yeah, they've gone for this almost old school original strat of just getting yourselves that afterplant out through the bathrooms, but MW0 just looking to fight through. CNED will trade. You got the paint shell of Zeke making things more awkward. They've still got 3 players standing. They've used the utility that they had, but realistically at this point it becomes so awkward for the remaining players. Zeke with another, leaving it all onto Heat to try and pick them all off, and even if he had, the time wouldn't have allowed it. ACEND off to a flying start with a pistol under their belt, and now, well, we expect a relatively weaker purchase coming out from KEYD.
Yeah, definitely. CNED getting 2 kills, the first and the last in that round. And the other thing that I wanted to mention in regards to that, 10 first bloods on the side of Vikings. I keep saying VK.
Yeah, I know, I've been really trying hard not to do that.
KEYD, because I put it down as VK, and I read it's VKS. ACEND had 12, and Zeke and CNED had 10 of them. So ACEND had the 5v4 advantages for the majority of rounds in Icebox, and they still couldn't capitalize. So it's whether CNED on a completely different role. It's what we're used to seeing him on the Sage, unlike Heat that just plays Jet all of the time, every time. You want to see not only ACEND still confirming those first bloods, because that's a good start, but you also have to make sure that those rounds get confirmed at the same time. Otherwise, mental completely goes, and you know what that's like.
I think as well, like, just this map in general, for the players across the board, like, I think it's a very comfortable map for Starzo in particular. I think Zeke as well on the Raze is something I've enjoyed for quite a long time. And even Big Brimmy. I still like seeing a little bit of Brimmy coming out every once in a while. I know that NA have never really enjoyed it, but I'm a Brimstone fan.
You got a little bit, especially on maps like Fracture. That's where you really like to see this agent come out. And in comparison to Astro, which, as Jess highlighted on the desk, that utility is scary, the quickness, the tempo that Brimstones can set with those instant smokes going down. Molly's great for post-plant util. Still Beacon's alright. depending on if, yeah, it's good.
They could break some doors with it, you know, that's kind of useful
I
sometimes.
really would have wanted to have seen Vivo KEYD. If I had to choose a comp for them, and this is just to see MW0 on the Raze, bear in mind. What Team Liquid run? The Jet and the Raze in their comp combined.
I think that was something that they also used to run, right? I might just be misremembering, but I feel like that was something that was also a Vivo KEYD comp in the past.
Yeah, I just want to see it once. I just want to see one MW0.
You just want MW0 on a duelist. That's what you're looking for. He's on a quasi-duelist.
We have to preface it as Heat does get the shot at kill in the end, stopping it from being a flawless at the very least. The CNED, it does at least get him closer to having that res. Vivo KEYD, seeing if they can make it more expensive. And at least try and chase down at the very least.
They kind of delivered him back the Spectre. Yeah. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world because they're going to be coming in with rifles, but hey, they could have just got rid of that gun completely and it would have left with a pistol or frenzy or something like that.
What is it with ACEND of throwing guns through the teleporter?
Yeah, I don't want to go back to that. I'm still trying to forget that from last time that they just handed someone a rifle previously, but they've been gifted one themselves this time. It's like pay it forward.
Yeah.
They've received it back.
The boomerang always finds its way back. Now, ACEND favourites for this map. And I want to preface as well by saying MW0 was probably the best player from Brazil in 2020. Mostly played Raze. Everybody wanted to see him at these international events once they came through. He is here, but not on the Raze, so it's kind of like a give and take scenario. But to be fair, he's been holding his own, and the team play for Vivo KEYD has been the impressive part. It hasn't just been Heat delivering the show, he's been doing that, but supplemented by the rest of his team.
The sort of bait and run. Just see. I will find out if there's anyone there.
Literal knock and door run.
There is. That's not gone well. Especially in a round like this, when you're the ones coming in with the majority of the rifles, that is not the start that they were looking for. They've delivered an extra gun once again to the side of ACEND, and while Heat's going to have to try and pop off here. Now, they are just walking back through, already garnering some control towards Lamps, but this might just be to leave a snake in the grass. I think it's been expected, it's been spotted, and Heat is not going to fall for it.
Quite rightly, Keylez, I think this was one of the reasons why we saw ACEND 13-0 in Gambit, is just that Keylez was able to get so many nice lurks, the utility posted towards the A site. He isn't falling for it. There's some Astro utility coming out just to break this execute from ACEND. The Resurrect dedicated, and stars are going down. It's just farming up for Heat and MW0. And it's as clean as you can really get considering the circumstances. With Joe going down that early, good turnaround. Another example of ACEND not capitalizing on rounds where they have a man advantage.
Yeah, and a lot of it came down to just almost feeding those individual jewels to Heat. Like, as you said, sure, there's a few pieces of utility here and there, but if you give this man the opportunity to pop off 1v1, and I think you'd bank on him to win the majority of the jewels.
Yeah, like, you know roughly where he's going to be. Like Bone Cold going for a bit of like high contact, trying to lurk through this utility. They wouldn't expect me to still push considering all of this utility is there to try and stall me out. But Heat's just watching it. And because of that grab well, nobody's there to trade off with it. And that's been the big difference from what Vivo KEYD has been doing so well this series and what ACEND have been struggling on.
Well, Sage Wall committed early to get the Seekers online. It'll be very valuable for the information. Of course, that was a bonus round, so although I think it definitely could have been a lot more successful for ACEND, they now come in with the purchase of their own. So it's not like this is the be-all and end-all of the map. It could be a very easy response.
For sure. Just at this point, it was also the res being dedicated from CNED as well, which you don't want to. You want to dedicate enough on those bonus rounds, but not too much. So that's unfortunate, really. And seeing it with the start. I like this default though. Things are slowing down now. Keylez again, like knowing that there's going to be an element of bait out from the side, and Starzo using that dissipate nicely, and that was a dissipate from the side of Vivo KEYD as well.
Yeah, I don't think that Murs expected that to disappear in front of his eyes. I don't think he expected there to be other players there, and now MW0 is the only one standing within this site, hoping to try and blind someone with the flash. Instead, it is Starzo with his triple, leaving just Joe. And those are the sort of plays that I do think that I worry a little bit. Because that from Vixen, I'm almost certain that Muras was not ready for that smoke to disappear.
No. And it's just, really, that's been the only time that miscommunication has really played a noticeable part, to say the very least. And even if we did have comms, I don't speak Portuguese, so it would have been kind of lost on me.
I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who could maybe tell you what was said, but...
You say that. On the other side, though, is just if that Dissipate goes down and somehow Morris gets the kill there...
I just think it's more the fact that it looked like he wasn't ready. It's not the fact that he died. It's that just based on the fact that Smoke, he's like, uh-oh. Like the sort of panic shot. But here we go. It is going to be 3-1. An early start for Ascend. I think, even though, as said, like going into this map, they're going to be feeling incredibly confident, I think it is important that they get off to a good start because we know, I think out of any team in this tournament, the most likely to just snowball out of control is probably going to be Vivo KEYD. Like, they are the team that if they get rolling, they're going to be very, very difficult to stop. So the fact that it has been some slower starts from some of their players, there have been a misstep here and there, they're definitely not as loud as they were, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, mixed buy now for Vivo KEYD. I imagine the Blade Storm's going to be dedicated from Heat, and then it's just a case of MW picking up whatever. Really, at this point, they might decide against it. There's still time. But one thing I wanted to say to you is we saw 2 insane clutches from Vivo KEYD, probably the 2 most important rounds on Icebox. Who is the clutch player for Ascend? Who is the one that they can rely on? Is it still CNED?
I don't know, I think I'd always put it down to someone like Starzo. I think for me, he's the one that I would put to win clutches. That is a nice start. That's a Blade Storm gone as well, so although there is still an extra rifle here and there, it's not looking good in this round. That is, it's a stuck squid. It's on the beach. Not really getting anywhere, but the fact that they've still both gone in towards that B site gives away the information. There's only going to be one player here. This Stinger would have to pull off something pretty ludicrous. It's the range that might work, but Killers is clinical and leaves just 2 remaining, and chances of anything are slim. I think Murray's just has to save.
Yeah, and W0 doesn't have that much. He almost gets the kill onto CNED. Getting him to buy a little bit more armor for the next round. That's all you can really do. And yeah, Murray's isn't looking to do much of anything. Just chilling in hookah. And I think what I really like what they do on the attack of Bind is because they have constant default pressure in some areas. Like Keylez is going to set up that toxic screen roughly in the same positions. You usually see some kind of go across the A site from the bottom left to the top right. Allows players like Nivera does it a bit to lurk through, Nats especially. But Keylez is always sort of watching this for defensive aggression, to find lurks, to find openings. It means that if Vivo KEYD even just see a stack of players towards B, they can't write off A. Ever.
Oh, they're hunting him down. I don't think they're going to get him, surely. No. He's not even going to try and peek and get that kill. It's not worth the trade. So 4-1. Again, Ascend looking good. And this is where we expect to see at least an investment from the opposing side. But I do think already you're starting to see a few liberties being taken. Like, you could see that from Zeke there, just walking straight into hookah. There wasn't a lot of utility to give him away. They're starting to get into that confident spot where I feel like this could just be that Steam ROM up. Almost like we saw just yesterday where it was like, okay, Team Secret, they've got themselves a map. 13-0.
Yep. And Ascend recently beating one of the best teams on the world on this map in another tournament kind of adds to it. And on the attacking side as well. Like, the attacking side of Ascend is a pretty good masterclass, but again, it's those cases where context matters, obviously. Nats wasn't playing his best, and Gambit, I don't think, really wanted to show all that much, because yesterday looked a hell of a lot more tighter.
There we go, though. Aggression on both sides of the map. Heat spotting out in towards B long. The same happening on A. It's a battle for the orb, although more just trying to deny that extra little bit of space. It has to be fallen off, so although some time has been bought, the space is still going to be taken, and rotation will come through from Vivo KEYD. I think if there is going to be a response in this half, they need to at least do something in this round.
Showstopper as well to maybe allow a bit of a defensive, just really break on through. Seekers on the defense is going to find a lot of Vixen sneaking up on it as well. The trade's still working out in the favor of Keylez. Yet again, this is just like the spot that he really comes to life, this A-shot position. And whilst the Showstopper was picked up from Zeke, it's not needed. He has just been sat here the whole time seeing if there was going to be any lurks, any push-throughs, and just outmanned in the end on the A site from Vivo KEYD, or to Vivo KEYD, should I say.
Well, the thing is as well, they seem so reliant on actually just being aggressive. Like, when we're seeing these walk-through attempts into mid, and whether it's Heat making those plays, I think in this round it's Vixen making the play, like, they're just getting domed by whoever's on the other side. And Ascend, I don't really feel like, okay, in the previous round, they were much more aggressive into hookah, knowing they were up against an eco, but in the majority of rounds, they've been very, very patient around that A short side. So the fact that Vivo KEYD is still attempting to try and push it, it does worry me a little bit, but at the same time, I guess they can't just leave with that null information of where ACEND are currently going to be, so they are struggling at the moment. Heat, we've seen him in one round manage to pop off when they pushed into his crosshair, and Bone Cold, well,
Still without a kill, I think.
just end up on a trade.
Yeah, both the IGLs have not picked up a kill at the very least.
Bone
Oh,
Cold's
Bone Cold got one.
Woo!
So 1 and 4. And again, he's sort of looking like maybe a Joe as the ACS and being like, top, bottom fragger. Just like not really up to par. But I guess the other thing to add to that as well is just in previous games in Masters 3, he didn't play Viper. And Viper is a hard agent to play on a map like this, especially against those EMEA teams that have been doing it all year. This is nothing new to Keyless.
Yeah, for sure. I think as well, like we saw in the previous map, they changed a few things here and there. New player coming in on a role that we didn't really expect, Muriz as well, but it's a map that I think the team themselves are comfortable on. Bind, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I think previously was a ban. So they've tried to change to move into maybe a slightly more meta comp. Still going to have heat on that jet, which is something we see a lot of players move away from on this map in particular. But I don't think that's the issue at the moment. I think the main problem is they're desperately trying to find some sort of information all across the map. That said, in previous rounds, we had B-long aggression, we had the Bath's aggression as well, and then we had a push into mid. And on the other side of things, you just see ACEND going, yeah, wait for it, wait for it. Wait, now.
Yeah.
Now. And then they're just getting these easier frags. So I'm glad that we're seeing an early-ish pause coming out from Vivo KEYD, because although, as you sort of mentioned, ACEND are very strong on the attack, it's not like they're slouches on the defense. It's not like it's going to get any easier when the side switches.
No, not at all. And an interesting thing that I just looked up is that Zhao has played Viper in the past. It was only when we got to Masters 3 that they changed away from it, which often is a bit of a scary thing. I often think that if you come into a tournament like this off the back of qualifiers and you change it up, it's not because you were sitting on it for months and didn't want to use it because you were expected to get to Masters Berlin. It's more, we want to throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
I think this is about to become very difficult already. Straight away, Zeke just clearing out this hookah control. We see how strong that raise can be. I think we've heard it from Boaster in the past. He doesn't like to see this map without a raise on it, and it's just getting worse. They're just pounding ultimates into the site. Nice shot from Heat, though. And the quick rotation from the remaining players could make things a little bit awkward. Starzo has spotted out Muriz, but there's going to be a swing. There's going to be a peek back in.
Nice
and
trade.
Joe has managed to find another. And they're slowly being closed in from behind. Now the spike is going to be retrieved. Joe is just being tagged down. He's going to have to try and swing out of that one, but he manages to escape, still keeping himself alive.
Meaning, Vixen now is starting to crunch. Maybe Zeke is holding on. He's doing relatively well in comparison, and now, and it's a 2v1 situation for ACEND, and he is slowly picking up a gun.
The spike's gone. CNED just ran away. I don't know how Zeke managed to survive in that scenario, but if there was anybody you wanted in this clutch, it would be this man. It's not been a pretty round. It's not been a clean round. But it's one that Vivo KEYD came in with an inherent disadvantage, that ACEND decided to throw in a couple of ultimates just to try and keep it clean.
2 smokes
and
as
it's
well.
come down into a 1 versus 2 scenario, a chance to isolate the Jawber. Zeke is just hitting everything put in front of him. A 4K on the round, 6-1 for ACEND, and it definitely wasn't as clean as they would have liked, but
it's also considering the buy for Vivo KEYD wasn't great in the end, and you're dedicating 2 big ultimates off the get-go. The execute was fine. You'd really take MWZ out the round. I do like the attempt of the wall to slow things. Zeke just being able to hold on here, really not panicking too much, and considering that it was a bit of a awkward performance from him on Icebox. Good mental reset. Like, it's just, he had so many first kills towards the start of Icebox, and then was the one being left on an island, taken out and giving Vivo KEYD a player advantage. Certainly when we saw ACEND's defense, but on the attack he has been that difference. He's been the clutch man that we wanted.
Okay, but this could be at least something here. We know how strong this operator is from Heat. They're going to force him off the angle, and actually CNED has crossed. I don't think he has any idea. This could be an issue. Timing, actually for both players, could be the problem, because I don't know if CNED would expect him to cross over. He does seem to be at least jiggling that angle, but on the other side of things, I don't know if Heat realizes that someone's got over to the box. The other thing as well is it could all be irrelevant because we've now got the bathroom's control being taken, mid also being crunched, but on the other side, we just have this B control almost for free. There's only one man there to stop them. The star no longer in place, and CDED, he's already trying to pre-fire the angle. He expected him to be there, and this is all just a distraction as they have just taken full control of B. And I feel like I said, they're just looking around like, guys? There's no one here?
This might be a bit of a misinformation play, though. They're sort of expecting maybe more plays to be over A. The rotation is slow, but still elbow control is pretty nice if you're in a position of Vixen. There is a Cosmic Divide as well to break up this site. The Viper's Pit, this is a nice position. We saw Nats using it yesterday. The defenders are still just walking right through it into that elbow spot.
It's going to be a tough retake, though. If your whole team is trying to make a push through elbow, it's going to leave you with some isolated Jordan. CNED, there's a little bit of a ledge. He can just swing out. This might just be the murder of every single member. But it's watched. He is going to connect the shot. It's left to Zeke and Bocold to try and hold on here. The Molotov falls, but it's actually only going to deny one. He's managed to find a second. It's already halfway tick, trying to do it all. And the timing, is it going to be enough? Just trying to get the defuse through, and it's not. That Molotov just won them the round. And even though it looked good in the retake for Vivo KEYD, they still can't get it through.
Yeah, that Brimstone utility just went in and out. And just one of those moments where ACEND, it really looked locked in, especially when you're using that Viper's Pit. But Vivo KEYD do so much. The play from CDED was nice, being on top of that box, being able to swing out. But it just felt that Vivo KEYD did have just such a good read on it in the end. He was watching just the reaction for that in the end. And that's just a lovely round from start to finish. Especially from the side of ACEND, like CNED really keeping Heat over in that A showers position.
You know, I just put the molly, landed on the spike, we win, no problem. Like, it just looks so calm considering how close that round ended up being. Again, we've seen this already in the previous map. ACEND throwing in a pace change after these slow, defaulty rounds of just waiting for their opponents to push. They just run almost straight into this A site, and they've got themselves an alpha plant. CNED taking a little bit of damage, but with the weaponry in play, this is going to be a much tougher task than what we saw in the last.
I would have assumed that from the last round that we just saw in these post plants, but the retake attempts have been decent for Vivo KEYD, just with these guns. Really, that's the only thing that's holding them back.
They're all spamming the box. It doesn't seem to matter, though. This man is just landing every single shot that's put in front of him. Finally, Vixen will get him down, but there is just so much utility. This is why this composition is so ratty, that they're just getting wrecked by Molotovs, by snake bites. There is no way you're getting that defusal through anytime soon. And we're 8 on the board now for ACEND. This is what we worried about when seeing this map on the board. And, well, for very good reason.
And just, I feel one of the noticeable things for Bocold especially is he knows his role and what he should be doing.
Yes.
He doesn't need to be the one that's going in and trying to lead with kills or clutch out in insane stuff. Leave that to CNED, leave that to Zeke. And I think you highlighting just like the Molotov plays, both from KEYD and Bocold, they don't need to be the fancy ones. They just have a job to do, and Vivo KEYD have been struggling with that. Even from Icebox, like the anti-plant and post-plant utility, the lineups weren't quite connecting where they should do, and, well, ACEND know this map like the back of their hands.
Well, it has taken a long time to get this Viper ultimate online. It's been utilized almost instantly, but again, we're just going to see this run through almost instantly. I thought that was going to be the kill, but in fact, it's Heat that goes down. They will retain this extra control, but Zeke is just on fire. Again, he's going to just multi-frag them out of the round. This was a purchase from Vivo KEYD. They had an operator in this round. They had rifles. They had a Viper's Pit, and Zeke just kills them all in their spawn.
So far, this has been a masterclass from ACEND on this attack. Just sort of having a good look at some of the ideas that they have at the very least. And maybe not to the same extent of what we saw from Gambit on Breeze per se, but you can start to see at least some of the rounds that have come in and the different faces that they can show. Zeke playing super high contact into metal.
He's just having fun now. I think we've got to the point where ACEND have gone, yeah, I think we're good. We can switch things up a little bit, because Zeke's not, well, let's be real, if anybody's buying an operator on this team, it's not normally Zeke.
You do have CNED over on the Sage, so it's a bit different, but
true.
It's mostly on the defense, though, that you see that Sage opping. Now some information garnered on A. Just a Sage Wall being placed in showers as a rotation is going to at least come in from Murray's. The Resurrect being available. He wants to sort of be in and around the action. But considering this is such a high line defense for Vivo KEYD just because of these guns, it's really awkward to try and break through, and it's still having some modicum of success.
They managed to garner at least a rifle. Rez going to come through on either side, but there's also the orbital strike just to make it that little bit worse. He has found another. This round looking at least a little bit better, and there's still one man waiting. Vixen, he's got to try and stop them here. A kill is necessary, and actually Bone Cold doesn't have his gun out. He's going to be executed as he looks to try and run around the corner. Vivo KEYD have read this one excellently, but they need to make sure they convert it. ACEND, the spike in hand, a nice hit from Heat as well, and leaving just that one man standing. He hasn't had to be the hero in any of these rounds so far, but this, surely impossible. 20 seconds, 4 players to find.
You're just keeping him locked in. If you can try and open up this site a little more, it'd be nice, but he knows that there's going to be a wraparound in that case. He's trying to pick up the spike. He's just been delayed perfectly. Not a bad anti-eco in the, well, great eco, a terrible anti-eco from the side of ACEND, like a nice thrifty. And just those kind of moments, as I was saying, ACEND like showing different faces, different styles, and not just executing onto a site 5 players. Vivo KEYD do have some response, just not the round you expected it to be on.
Yeah, I think as well the main thing I want to give credit for in this round in particular is actually just the read coming out from Vivo KEYD. Like, of course, he is... Okay, I don't think it's hit them too hard. But yeah, I think the read coming out, especially that little lurk play from Vixen, just denying them enough, finding that extra kill, and now they get the operator back. But there's a reason that we see it in CNED's hand most of the time, even if he's on a Sage, because he has denied that star player of Heat.
I really do like that they bring out those kind of guns to surprise, breaking the conditioning, I suppose. Vivo KEYD, I don't think we're really going to expect that all that much. And they've done a really good job of just shutting down Heat's operating, just across the rounds. And really, because of the one-sidedness of this half, we've not really seen the operator out on the side of Vivo KEYD all that much, especially Heat.
Yeah, I think the few times he's had it, he's been battered. Like, it's just not worked out for him at all.
This is, again, just like that no information that Vivo KEYD have, like already using that gravity well.
They both use Seekers.
Yeah. It was just very early utility coming out of Vixen. He has no clue. They're still going to try and fight it. And Murray's, well, he's harder to move. Doesn't really have any more slow orbs. He's just going to try and stand and face and forces the teleport over from Vivo KEYD.
Oh, better from Joe. He's managed to isolate a kill, keeping himself alive, and Zeke hasn't actually been able to spot him, surviving at least for the moment, just hiding behind that utility, and the Viper finally comes online. 2 impactful kills that could make the difference to get them their 3rd round onto the board. Lots of utility. Actually, CNED's going to be pulled, but still manages to get himself the bomb. The lineup comes through. It's Vivo KEYD at least getting themselves a small lifeline in this first half, but it was still a dominant half from ACEND.
You know what they say about 9-3 though? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's an irrelevant scoreline. There's no superstitions around it. And now ACEND, moving over to that defense. It's been par for the course for what you expect from ACEND, and Vivo KEYD tempered a little bit by the EMEA side.
Well, I know that Dash said he really loves himself a close 6-6 half. So we're going to throw it over to him to see what he thinks of this one. Thank you very much to the desk. And a great fill as well, you know? It's always good to hear them like talk through everything that we've sort of seen in the last, especially when it was as dominant for ACEND as we saw, like the last couple of rounds almost giving just that little bit of life. Now, Ryan, what I want to say though is going onto the attacking side, you got a new comp, you got some new ideas. I feel like a lot of that now comes down to the attack rather than maybe that defense.
And there's just naturally going to be a lot of, oh, we see this team using this Viper line, for example, let's just copy that, but maybe not really knowing or necessarily understanding some of the approaches that you could take. Saying that though, Joe's found a lovely bit of pocket space when it comes to this A control, and it's keenly watched by Keel as he has his suspicions, but he also wants to maintain that shell control as well. This is a nice little
trapped
crunch.
Them. Yeah, they've trapped them in. They know. Wait, what?
Spike?
That can't Oh, no, they are. They're going to run it all the way back, but they don't know that the players are there on the cross. This has gone from a retake A to a retake B in a matter of seconds, and actually MW Zera has caught Killers as he attempts to rotate. It's a bold strategy. I'm not sure if it was intended, because sending the spike through first definitely had its risks, but it has put them in an excellent spot.
Look where MW Zera is as well. Like, he's keeping Starzo in an awkward position, but knows that he needs to move away. He needs to help out his team in his post plant. And Bone Cold, bit of parkour to help him get up onto the high ground. The flash is a bit awkwardly timed, makes it awkward.
What?
Vixen traded out from Zeke, and Starzo now holding onto the site. MW Zera blocked off by this wall. I think he can get around it, though.
What? Well, yeah, he might have to at this point, because they're just sticking the defusal, holding it all the way, and no one gets there in time! ACEND, it looked like they were done after that rotation came back to be all the players in the right place at the right time, and instead, ACEND just stick it.
Yeah, MW Zera, there wasn't a gap in the wall to sneak around, and he really sort of held off on just trying to break it to an extent. Catch her by surprise, but it was a mental round in regards to where everybody ended up in the end. And Starzo just holding close, holding onto this site, and eventually getting that defuse in. The fact that even a bit of the wall wasn't broken by the time the defuse came in clearly shows that MW wasn't necessarily expecting it to be done and dusted like that.
Yeah, I also think just the reaction shot that came out of Zeke as he walks out was just disgusting. It definitely looked like he's on point in this map, and while what looked like the glimmer of hope has now fallen away. Now, they are forcing into this one, Ryan, and they've invested into a couple of Bulldogs. Definitely not the most common of weapons, but it will give them a range advantage over the defenders who might not expect it to be coming. They do still have to be careful, though.
I like a little bit of Astro utility to force him out, but considering this is not really all that much like the utility being forced up, it means that Astro util is so important. Another bit going to be used, and now Starzo pushing through. This is what you want to see, just using that utility to peek out, catch a kill, and dismiss. And considering Vivo KEYD are constantly pushing through a shot with no split, they don't really have a leg to stand on, even if this spike does get planted.
They're looking to try and hold them in position as they wrap back around already. Starzo finding another into the round. He's got Bone Cold alongside him, but the trades are coming back. It's left on to Heat again. A few opportunities in the clutch, hoping to try and bait someone out into swinging, but they know they have the advantage at this point. Is he going to try and sneak his way through to B?
30 seconds
He does have time. He could take the teleporter. I don't think anybody will be able to beat him there, but I think he wants a duel first. He wants to try and isolate one of these players, try and stop them from swinging behind him, but while he's doing all of this, Bone Cold is slowly making his way through, and these baits are just not working whatsoever. Zeke just holding the line. Although he's been spotted, he has no idea that Bone Cold is in from behind. We spoke about his individual play. Hasn't been the greatest in this game, but the impact from Bone Cold definitely has been there.
Not too fast on the rotate that he gets isolated in a duel. Zeke as well, just not over running into this, considering this was a force as well from Vivo KEYD.
Yeah.
The money's not going to be good. It was just like a last-ditch attempt, and it almost worked out. There were a few of those rounds that we saw an Icebox really going the way of Vivo KEYD. But I like that Zeke, we saw some clutch moments, but we also just saw some smart decision-making to not give Heat those 1v1 duels.
Yeah.
Really put Heat in his back pocket there.
Yeah, now we got what is going to be another force buy. Now there is a rifle invested in onto Starzo. He's also got his Seekers with the amount of kills he's managed to get in the early rounds, so it's going to leave them in a tougher spot, that's for sure. Still, though, it's not that different in terms of the actual investment. Like, both teams coming in with at least a rifle or two. Both teams with an okay amount of utility. I do think maybe that's where Vivo KEYD are a little bit further behind, but the fact is they're basically forcing into this game. If they lose this round, they're going to have to do the same again just to not lose completely. And while we might not see a full buy from them whatsoever.
I don't think, considering you're looking at stats, Vivo KEYD's ecos or anti-ecos were particularly strong from Masters. They're going to have to really make it work now if they want to put ACEND under that pressure. But this is just experience winning out. A little bit manic, but that's what you kind of expect from both these teams at this point.
And taking the advantage, ACEND actually peeks back in off the edge of the smoke. Now we have seen at least a trade back and forth, but the fact is the spike is down on the other side of the map, so this attack currently coming in onto A is almost just to try and clear things out a little bit in Heat. He was so clinical in the last map. Instead, he's now falling to ACEND a chance for the ace, but I feel like Joe's just going to burn. Bone Cold with another Molotov kill. We've seen a few of those. And ACEND hit their 12th. It's going to be only force buys in this half from Vivo KEYD as they've got to go for another.
It wasn't really like the 200 IQ lineup as well. It was just close enough.
Don't push me.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. It was smart enough in the end. And actually sort of looking at it as well, the eco rounds from Vivo KEYD, granted there wasn't really that many, were pretty decent in the end. But now it's really has to be that, because the last 3 rounds they've just tried to buy up and it's really sort of following into ACEND. To be fair though, if ACEND lose this round and we see Vivo KEYD getting 4, their money isn't great considering it's come down to a lot of like 1v2s, 1v1s.
At the same time, they now need to win 9 rounds in a row just to survive in the map, so...
You never know. You see Furia yesterday?
I don't... Well, they lost.
They did, but they made it closer.
they got part of the way there, I guess. I can't say I'm much of a believer, but I like your optimism, Ryan. You know what? It's not what I'm used to in a duo.
I wonder why.
ACEND getting pressured. He's just gone past.
I realize as well, like being able to just wrap around like this because there's been 0 showers pressure coming in for Vivo KEYD. They just 5-stacked through one part and really ACEND are ready to just smash this one to bed.
He's just running in behind them, not even trying to slow down. He does a lot of damage but doesn't take the kills, but even still, he's bought some extra time. The shotgun doing damage, but the trade's coming back thick and fast, and it's left onto Joe. He's being naded into oblivion. There is no chance at survival, and it will be that defusal. The map is done. ACEND have dominated Vivo KEYD, and we will be heading into Breeze. Somewhat as expected.
It's what we've wanted to see from a couple of these EMEA teams that have gone. They like to play KO on this map to the point that Fnatic didn't want to play Breeze at all in that series. So there is a potency to it. And it almost feels counterintuitive because Breeze is such a big map. The lineups from KO often more like isolating spaces and you need to know the lineups properly. Otherwise, you're flashing more of your teammates than the enemy. So we'll have to see how that works. The double doors position makes a lot of sense for where the KO is going to be, just re-peeking that entrance, almost like a Phoenix does on Haven with double doors. But obviously, very different ballgame with the size of Breeze.
Well, yeah, I think that a lot of this is going to come down to the utility cycling of Zeke. Like, he's going for the early information to see where everyone is. And already, here is tagged desperately low. Starzo, we're seeing him on the Viper. We didn't even really mention that, but that is not something we expected to see coming into this series. A switch up for quite a few different agents as the Sky goes missing on their side. And, well, we know that Vivo KEYD like this more puggy style. These individual players looking to try and pop off, and this time it's Joe finding a couple. But again, it always seems to swing back into these 2 versus 2. The overhealed Mura is in a pretty good spot to try and find something here. Slightly whipped, but he gets one anyway. And now it's left onto those in-game leaders, facing off for who has the biggest brain, who can bring home this round. And Joe, he's in the spot to hold it, and he's going to find the headshot to close. 3 kills in the pistol. And Vivo KEYD start things strong.
Yeah, wobbly start, Vivo KEYD. You clearly sort of see the style that they're going for. Very fast. Heat and Murray is absolutely sending it through a hole to try and get to that switch, put a lot more pressure over on that A site, and I guess most importantly, taking the KO away from that double doors. He can't play in that position if he's going to get crunched from players coming through cave, and suddenly that switch position. You're kind of in a rough old spot. So that's a good response for Vivo KEYD in the end. And Bone Cold, it's a tough clutch to win in the end, regardless. But Joe, that's his first so far. Everybody's having their moments on VK.
ACEND does have himself an investment. And although a little bit of utility has gone in that direction, it's not really done anything to stop him, especially when it's Mura's taking those battles. We mentioned he's been on supportive roles for the last couple of maps at least, but in this one he's taking front and center stage, and we definitely know he has the ability to. On the other side, how can they make this costly? 1 kill already, it's not bad. Anything more, and you'd say ACEND have done well here.
And also on the flip side for ACEND, with you saw the same Murrays is going away from the support agents to something more deadly. It's the opposite for Zeke. Like, he had the biggest performance on that raise. KO, you have to play a bit off of your teammates. You can't flash yourself in. Well, you can flash yourself in.
As he flashes himself in.
Just as I say that. But it's not like you can run him as the tip of the spear as a duelist. And when you have ACEND on your team playing that Jet, you don't want to be doing that anyway. Or do you?
Starzo trying to take someone with him, but it isn't going to work. Another orb towards the neural theft, although I'm sure they would have liked it to go somewhere else. Nonetheless, 2-0.
You know what
KEYD looking
discussion
strong.
we're about to get into? Neuro Theft as an ultimate?
Average.
Best in the game.
No. Maybe if you're Matt or Kukuka, same thing.
I think it's just something that we're all in agreement of in the EMEA.
No.
No, put words in Lofar's mouth.
For sure, for sure. See, we were talking about the 70% Vipers pick. You had a 90% win rate whenever you use a Neural Theft.
That's not a true fact. Just to be clear, we're joking. CNED isn't. I like this angle. It's just in front of where that layer's coming in from. Is a good
He's
read
so
on how
close,
they
he's going to
play.
get him in the end. Just the spam through. Obviously, this is the bonus round for Vivo KEYD, but CNED has had enough of his opponents coming back. He's back on his jet, and he is slaughtering them. Only Vixen can put him in the grave. And while eventually Bone Cold is going to close out the round, CNED not only getting off with a 4K in the first buy round, but he's already got his Blade Storm.
And it didn't really require all that much when it comes to team play. It's just CNED sitting on an angle that clearly from how the utility was used. Just standing in head of that Leah. Dashes out. Re-enters. Even if he doesn't get the kill here onto Heat, he does have that support coming in from Bone Cold, who has a nice little boost on his final kill. Would have been a nice little ace for CNED. And now that full buy is coming in, like you say, the Empress is available. I'm curious to see what Mures can do. He's going to be pushing into that cave position. And Keylez, actually a Stazo even. I'm so used to it being Keylez on the Viper, to be honest. Only using that Poison Cloud, saving a toss of screen for a retake. I've seen a lot of teams start to do that nowadays.
Yeah, sat back watching, leaving that open space for CNED to play with. And that is the thing with playing this combination of KO and Sova. You can clear 2 early angles with the utility that you have, and then you can have these sort of gamble stacks. It's something I've really loved with watching Cloud9 and being one of the best teams, I would say, in the world at the moment on this map. I'm not really against ACEND trying to sort of yoink their comp a little bit.
I'm glad that you like best teams in the world on this map. I mean, they are one of the best teams in the world.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of room to grow as well. The potential is there.
For sure.
It's just maybe too soon for such a young squad. But this is an important map. We sort of highlighted that as we were going into the half-time with the desk. It's just Breeze is going to be pivotal to whatever teams want to do well in this tournament. And CNED, well, he's happy to keep on farming through.
CNED has just put them in the ground again. 4K in the last round, looking to at least try and match up into this one. He has finally been able to shut him out, but there's only 20 seconds left. It's already turned into a save, and you can see Killer is looking to try and come in on the flank. They want to remove this operator from Heat's hands. The fact is, though, ACEND, as we saw mentioned, doing so well with the information game to find out where their opponents would be, but then they also just had utility like the fragment denying them, splitting them up as they move into the site. Then you have some isolated by the utility holding them back on that poison orb. And so they basically had to try and take individual duels versus CNED with a Blade Storm, which... Not really not surprised it went the way it did.
Yep, it's almost like a gladiator going out into the Colosseum. It's just what's going to happen? And yeah, CNED is one of the players that we have been highlighting. And I also did want to say, whilst we have the chance, a year ago these guys qualified for First Strike in a team called No Penky. You got to rep the 0.5, and it's the same with NBS, the coach Zeke, going from No Penky to G2 and then back to ACEND, kind of. And this time last year, we didn't know really too much about Bone Cold as a player, for sure. Keylez, these were not the Ignition Series players, right? They were just sort of picked up from trials, and that's the exciting thing about this squad. It's not like the big names from CS. Those have the big Twitch followings to be brought in for various reasons, other than, of course, just being good enough to play professionally. These are some of the diamonds in the rough.
Well, this round at least... pistols and the 2 safe guns from the last, but it's already kicked off in at least a pretty solid way. He is going to find that kill onto Zeke. A lot of that information will be quelled, but more so it might give them that little bit of extra space, and I think Bone Cold realizes it already, looking to try and even up the tide, timing everything, but the headshot angle is perfect, and he's not going to overfight that.
He can. Just because like you lose that KO, like you only have the intel information with those utility. Like, he has the recon dart ready, didn't want to use it there because he didn't want to give up the nice sneak up. And KEYD, he's prepared, just anchoring onto this site. Obviously, he can get information himself, but not to the same level as Sova. And that gap has been exploited from Murray's, but luckily because Bone Cold did back out, he maintains the trade.
Well, they're committing a lot into this round. The Viper's Pit will go through to give them that little bit of extra space, deny the aggression, and more so Heat is looking to try and play around the other side. Now, if he falls, this becomes a little bit more difficult. And actually, they really want to hunt him down, forcing him to dash out of position, at least clearing that right-hand side. And with Joe dropping, this becomes a little bit tougher. Now, Vixen's desperately low on HP, and he's kind of got stuck in his own ultimate. It's going to be left all onto Heat. Now, at least the pit will be dropped. He survives on 1 HP, but Bone Cold continues from his early aggression and closes it. 3-2 in favor of Ascend.
Just from start to finish again, just not using utility to go for some koi plays that catch Vivo KEYD on the rotation. I like that KEYD just kind of went into this position where they take out KEYD on the Cypher, all that utility goes down, and then they dedicate the Viper's Pit. In situations like this, it was probably not intended in the end. Flicks through, I mean,
I feel like
it looked like some sort of like VCR tape there.
Yeah, I feel like, what was it, Vixen just got stuck on the wall. And I think that actually ended up just being the thing that almost lost them the round, because the second he was gone, you are then just reliant on Heat killing everyone, which, you know...
He did get a kill in that moment at the same time.
It does happen every once in a while, but we're actually going to see a double operator thrown in here. I don't know if that's off the back of picking the one from the last round, but Starzo on an operator Viper. Not something I ever thought I'd see, especially considering he's not far off getting his own ultimate. It probably isn't the best gun to have.
It's awkward, though, because they're both towards mid and B. So retaking with 2 hops, it was already hard enough with 1 at this point. I think another big thing is going to be Vixen surviving. It's a nice toxic screen. It's very default with what you expect, but it means that utility has to be sort of thrown out. They really wanted to put Murray's under pressure. And it's even the operator that gets the kill in the end. Nice shock dart, snakebite combination, and the fragment catching him on the get-go, but still, Vivo KEYD holding on.
Zeke trades things back, though. Both players isolated within the cave. They need to try and find a way to push out, and instead, Zeke's looking to push in. He's got Bone Cold spamming through, and although MW0, he has a chance here! He's gonna get all 3! Again, this man and the multi-frags will pull through the Red Bull clutch, and Vivo KEYD have themselves a 3rd.
I think that's why they wanted MW0 on this team for this tournament, do you reckon?
Pull out the checkbook, lads.
Red Bull clutch, and that is exactly what Mura said that they wanted from this player. Like, we kind of know that Asova's going to be the one that holds back, like even now, 5 seconds away from the recon dive if you wanted to play later, but we wanted
just like, you know who I am.
We wanted to see this guy on the international stage in a very different role and style to what we used to, but I think I like this style a little more.
Yeah, putting him in those sort of scenarios is always going to help out. We're going to see the early shock dart just to try and destroy the Cypher utility, force people to play further towards that tube area. And actually, Mirrors again. He's just going walking in. They're trying to sell this as if it's an identical take. That's the plan. Go moving in directly through. And although Killers will look at the rotation, they've already pulled players away and left it. I was going to say just onto CNED, but CNED's there.
Yeah, Kilos does well to get the kill, takes a peek as well with all of that utility being thrown through. Gets that information, but now it's a nice double bait. Starzo looks away at the worst possible time when it comes to that double doors control, and because of that, Bone Cold isn't really expecting somebody to be right in his face. Keyless is on this side, he's got a lot to deal with.
Doesn't get anything for it. CNED has at least dropped the Clutch King from the last, and Starzo
in the game.
Trying to put through a little bit of utility to deny them. Hasn't actually worked out. But they've cleared a lot of these close angles. This round definitely isn't done, and by the looks of it, it's going to be the cave after plant that's set up now for that attacking side. A single snakebite remains if they want to attempt it. Realistically, Starzo can actually just walk past this utility. Instead, he decides to shoot it, use that Viper's Pit, and they're not going to kill him off before it pops. This makes things a little bit awkward, but with Heat close up, he might be able to just kill them off before they go for any sort of defusal. They don't expect him to be this close, and it's left onto CNED. First shot landed, but the time is ticking, and it doesn't seem like there's any chance in hell he'll be able to hold on this time. 4-3 in favor of Vivo KEYD, and they're just running for their lives.
And it's the holding on part that's so important. Like CNED we've seen a few of those moments. It's not even really been clutch situations in the ACEND. Like for ACEND, Vivo KEYD, it's always been that one player alive being able to win out a 1v2 or 1v3 in MW0's case. For ACEND, it's just been these nice mid-play rounds. And the response for Vivo KEYD after that ability, it just doesn't show up when it matters in comparison to other teams. And certainly in this series.
Yeah, I think we've seen definitely bits of it, especially with, I think Starzo clutches is something that I used to love watching, especially within EMEA, like the 1v3s.
Have we seen any of them?
I don't think, I think there was a round on Icebox where he managed to just multi-frag aggressively inside the Killjoy lockdown, but I do get what you mean. Maybe the frequency has been reduced a bit.
And also on a different role. I mean, is he going to be like Nats overnight on the Viper? Hard to get a gauge. And also, it's just a mix of like ACEND feeling much more fundamental in how they approach stuff. And they have a mental coach as well, which is probably one of the things that they spoke about of just like it's not, you don't need to be the one that has these clutch out moments from Vivo KEYD, for example. But it helps. It surely helps at this point, and especially if confidence gets knocked easily from ACEND. You gotta wonder what it could do.
Not the start they were hoping for. ACEND. He's there on the cross, but the screen is not going to allow him anything. And again, they can just fall back and play these sort of after-plan scenarios. Now, for Joe, realistically, he's wasting their time, but he doesn't want to die here because they don't have any other rifles excluding the one that's currently on to ACEND. So if he can just make sure that he's causing them issues while surviving, that's going to be enough. And every other player slowly being picked off. Now, ACEND has to try and avoid the majority of the other players while saving this operator, because if this goes down, he hasn't actually earned enough kills. Now, if he gets 2 kills in this round and then dies, he gets himself the Blade Storm. So that's why I feel this investment actually came through. He's got no kills so far.
No.
Eyes down.
And it also feels like with ult economy, it's been few and far between. Have we seen a null command yet? We've not seen one have impact, at the very least.
Well, he's got it now. So that, but again, yeah, I do feel like so far it's been a slightly quieter performance from Zeke, especially in comparison to the last map. Yeah, he's currently got 1 kill.
And it's a concern when you bring out an agent like that. It's not a case of, you know, you need to bring out the KO and then top frag. That's not really what it's for. But this just Cypher killed. Love it. It's this position has been exploited a fair few times for Vivo KEYD that's playing from. We spoke about it as we went into the first round, like double doors, mid control. But mid's not really been on the cards for Vivo KEYD. Maybe now that we start to see a bit more attention put towards these extremities, and that's exactly what's happening on A.
Oh, it's a game of chicken. Bone Cold already garners a little bit of extra information. He's got his teammate watching the angle. And they already know that Bone Cold has pushed the threshold. The plan here from ACEND is just to be that a little bit more aggressive. And they've almost scared Vivo KEYD off. But with a couple of players being spotted in that direction, I almost feel like they think that this B site is safer than maybe it is.
Yeah, Starzo is also such an aggressive fighting position. Again, just that Poison Cloud in that spot. I mean, it works. It catches Vixen on the way out. Not really an angle that you expect a Viper to be playing from. It's not quite ratty. It's out in the open, and Starzo, that's the kind of, even from his personality, he's that good at it. Now it's just a full rotation coming in, then the null command. Now suppressing abilities, but it's not really affecting Joe, and on that Cypher, he can maybe face a little bit more.
Oh, this is starting to fall apart, but Zeke finally steps up to the plate. He is still landing shots, though. Lightning fast reactions, putting this into a 2 versus 2. 30 seconds left.
30 seconds left.
Got to try and clear out Zeke, and whoa. Blade Storm going to be popped. They want to try and isolate this duel. The timing going to be everything, and Heat lands the shot even while slightly blind.
Bone Cold again.
It is left into this 1v2, but they are planting in the spot for Heat to just hold the angle. To clear this out is going to be incredibly difficult, and MW0, I think, has already spotted him, just trying to bait him in, maybe not expecting anybody to just be holding this cross. He gets the information and the tag through, but he, again, connects. Even on low HP, this man pulls off 4 kills, and Vivo KEYD head to 6.
And it's another situation where ACEND start to come back into it. Zeke with the null command really declaws Vivo KEYD on this execute utility, not being able to be used. If there was a Poison Cloud thrown down on the Vivo KEYD side, it was gone and it opened up the site, but this is opping again. Zeke caught out in this spot, just timing down, and Bone Cold yet again. You like the idea, it almost takes down, but It's a difficult position for him to be put in. We've seen a few of that before.
Yeah, they've headed to Heat's playground, and it has definitely been a battle of the Jets. You have to remember a couple of the early rounds granted to ACEND were based on multi-frags from CNED. Zeke attempting...
No mid at all from KEYD at all. This hall is exploited, and so is Zeke.
An easy pick. Again, it's pistols in this round, not really anything to play behind. I think CNED was hoping to try and get the early ultimate orb to turn this into some sort of competition. But again, after early presence in one direction, the full rotation comes through, and Viva KEYD just back off. They walk away. The mid-round calling, I have to say, from Joe, it's been far superior to what we've seen on the other side, because the amount of times they've either walked into a weaker site or an empty site, it's starting to worry me.
When you have such a big map like Breeze, and you have 5 players up against 4, you really want to stretch them thin, and this is just a little example. It is up against West Weaponry. At least the trade is going to stop it from being a flawless round. And the retakes were okay on the A site. Awkward. He's going to be likely the same in this case.
Oh, the 145. The most painful thing in existence. He's going to do damage, but grant absolutely nothing from it. And again, a lot of low players, but still 3 standing for Vivo KEYD. They hit 7. This half is already a victory, and I'm waiting for a response for ACEND, because sure, I still think both teams are going to be better on the attack, Ryan, but well, they need to give themselves at least some wiggle room.
Well, that's what I wanted to check. In regards to this tournament, we've seen Breeze play 3 times, and 70% attacking win rate. So it's basically 9 free halves on the attack.
Whenever you say 70%, I can't trust you anymore, because that's become a meme.
Well, technically it's 69, which is even nicer, but
okay.
Works out roughly to be 9 free, 10-2 half. I mean, obviously, you've got Gambit 12-0 on that side. It kind of inflates it a little bit more. But you're right. Like, Vivo KEYD want to be running Riot with this side of the half, and I imagine his KO is very much going to come online on the attack, but so far in the defense, it's left a lot to be desired.
Oh, the pace change. They want to go walking straight into CNED's lair. The operator in hand already, dropping 1. Oh, they've actually got the Hunter's Fury trying to do some damage, but not really finding anything from it. It's at least forced them back, but as said, I think these mid-rounds have looked a lot better on this map in particular from Vivo KEYD. They're going to slow it down. And there is a fairly aggressive spot from Killers that they do have to watch out for. He'll have heard the footsteps. The flash is solid, and he is gone.
Killers just holding on to this column position. Toxic Screen actually being used to more control at A site. Really, the retake positions that ACEND have been in have been such down to a player disadvantage that it's not really useful to hold on to those toxic screens for those moments. So I do like the fact that Stazo is changing it up a little more. Utility in various places, more anchoring towards A. And that's just because CNED is getting so much success with this operator. You can make it 4 with the Recon Dart coming in nicely. Vixen is the last to go, and really if you needed a hero for a Prime Gaming Flawless, it had to be CNED.
Yeah, there's been too many rounds that have just been won by him, though. Like, I feel like, what, there was a 4K to get them their first round, what, a 3K to get them their second? He's now got himself another 4K to close out another, like, we don't want to talk about this team being like CNED and friends, but that is what it's starting to look like, at least in this matchup. Sure, Bone Cold had a moment or two, but it has been this battle of the Jets throughout Breeze so far, and, well, in the majority of rounds, they've either just completely avoided CNED, or there's been a Jet on the other side to shut him down. Yeah,
similar sort of setup on this defense now in the last round of this half. CNED, though, changing up in the position to more check holes. Is a place that if Vivo KEYD want to rely on anything, it's just bombing it down there. They've caught out Bone Cold a few times. They've got to that switch and that pistol. The B setup has pretty much been consistent with Keyless. And Stazo still having a toxic screen in hand. It's just going to be that poison cloud in the entrance again on that choke. And right now, Vixen's held on to his toxic screen as well. Not giving away the plan. But I assume as soon as it goes down across the A site, which is where exactly Vivo KEYD are leaning, ACEND are going to be prepared. They are going to try and recheck that whole position, though. They have left it for a while, and good timing at least, as soon as that toxic screen comes through. And look at this one as well that's set up from Stazo, allows him to play a bit more deeper.
Maybe one they won't be expecting to play against. Managed to find the tag onto Zeke, but he won't go down. However, Bone Cold has fallen, and because of that, we might actually see a switch up. Heat has found a pick on the other side as well, leaving
30 seconds
Just a
left.
few players remaining. Not in the worst of spot, but they're going to be pincered in. CNED can only land one, and Zeke just trying to survive. They have been isolated one by one from the side of Vivo KEYD. A solid attacker side round. And what are the chances here for Killers? Completely out of position. A rotation versus a Viper's Pit, and 4 players waiting.
And we were saying, like in the other series, the round 12, ACEND were the ones that were bringing out little curveballs. That's the first time that we've really seen Vivo KEYD presence in mid, getting that kill. And again, the timing to go through. This is now interesting. It's not done and dusted on the side of ACEND, but still, that's a lot of momentum, and this is going to be a very important pistol coming through on the second half.
Yeah, I think, again, we've got to mention that we expect this map to be attacker-sided, but I almost just feel like this was the dismantling of the side of ACEND. Like, that was impressive in the half for Vivo KEYD. Like, the way that they were able to pull back in a lot of scenarios, not overextend in most of these cases. So I'm now curious to see what the desk are going to be thinking of this one, because right now, Vivo KEYD are in the driver's seat.
Thank you very much, Tom. It was Achilleos who said what they could ask for was an 8-4 on the attacking half, and Vivo KEYD delivered just that. Squarely in the driver's seat here on map number 3.
I think curse aside, they probably would have preferred a 9-3, just especially given that that had no weight whatsoever, no bearing on bind. But 8-4 still really, really strong. If this ended up going 7-5, that looks a lot rockier for KEYD to be able to try to close out this map. But this is very strong start for them. This pistol round, important for both sides. For ACEND trying to get ahead, but also for Vivo KEYD to further stretch this lead.
It's not even just the lead. I want to highlight something that Ryan said. He used the word smart. That's what I felt about Vivo KEYD there. It wasn't the gun game that we were prefacing in previous maps. How many rotations, and these were minute rotations, some were full site rotations, sure, but how many IGL calls came from the leader of Vivo KEYD, which swapped them in split seconds from their push to somewhere else, and ACEND, they were too slow to be able to react.
And I know we got into game just before we were able to talk about it, but Joe back on the Cypher, right? And we were critical of the Viper pick on the map prior, but you find him in a comfort pick, and he pops off early for the team, not just as an IGL, but as a fragger as well, already in the double digits. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, and Joe is just like kind of the tip of the iceberg when it comes down to being comfortable. This is full-blown comfort for everybody on the side of Vivo KEYD. Everybody's basically playing what they're used to, or they're in their second most played role. This is looking way, way better for them. And again, we were talking about it before with Zeke moving over to the Rays. When you go back to those agents that you're so well versed on, and you know the lineups on every single map, exactly how to play moment in, moment out, you can see the difference. And that's part of why we see this very strong opening here for Vivo KEYD.
Joe had that 3K to kick things off. He's been leading like an absolute pro. The other person I want to call back to is the new addition, MW0. Had the 1v3 clutch that we can't ignore. When you talk about getting to that 8-4 scoreline, every little difference, every little action makes a difference round per round, and he came up big.
Even in that post-plan position, that 3K you were talking about, in that position, you can get panicked and you can push up and you can put yourself in the firing line there. Or you can hold calm, cool, collected as he did. He held back. He knew the cloud burst was in his face, but he wanted to play time on that. And I think when you pull a player in your roster and they've got a lot of pressure on their shoulders, sometimes they can try and make hero plays. And in that moment, he didn't necessarily have to, and he played it perfectly.
Vivo KEYD have set the bar at an 8-4 attacking half. They flip to the other side to see if they can hold off ACEND, and we're back over to Tom and Ryan for the call.
Well, Breeze, it's all about that attack. At least that's what we normally see. So now we're watching to see if Vivo KEYD have the stones to take this one over the line. Ryan, are you a believer?
We'll have to see at this point. I said that this pistol's going to be important, and it certainly was going to be for Zeke. He's almost doubled the kills that he's had in the server just off this pistol alone in the first 7 seconds. Now that Util is going to be fired in onto B, it was a site that was held loosely for Vivo KEYD. And just as we were sort of saying, mid-control on the attack for Vivo KEYD, they didn't really go elbow at all on the attack, but that's where they went instantly on the defense.
Maybe a hard read, but whatever it is, it still worked out for ACEND. The timing for MW0, though, couldn't have been any better. He's brought things back into a 3v3 and looks to move over to his teammates. The peek from CNED is also going to be dropped. Joe, he was quiet individually, but he's now coming up big for his squad once again. It's left on to Zeke. I believe he might even have to ace it just to take this one home, and it is not happening. A 3 versus 4 to a 3 versus 0. Vivo KEYD end up dominating the pistol.
It's the trades, it's the spacing. You would have just assumed on how cleanly ACEND broke into the site, but in the end, the macro play from Vivo was spot on, right? Like, they played off of the site, they played retake, and you can really start to understand why. It's a difficult place to come back from if you're ACEND. Basically, it's the roles reversed from what we saw on Bind. I don't imagine they're going to force up this round, though.
No, they did get themselves the spike down, but in a round like this especially, unless you're going to go for like some heavy Marshall investment, and even then you might as well just do it without the shields behind it and hope that you can have that sort of hero play. On the other side, again, a strong investment into Bulldogs.
The other two teams that are playing later today, NVX10 also in this group, probably watching this one, hoping that Vivo KEYD win. I don't need to worry about making that mistake too much more often.
If Vivo KEYD ever face Vikings again, you're screwed.
Yeah. Hopefully Mitch will be back from then. I don't have to deal with it. But I'm sure like NV fan favorites in that matchup really wanted Vivo KEYD to win this one. When ACEND, it's scary. You never know what you're going to get from either of those two teams that are still playing later on today. ACEND slowly making their way into the site. The camera's going to get all of the information from Joe. I reckon Dad's going to pick up a couple.
Spike planted.
Plant at least. Realistically now it's all about damage and heat. It's not going to allow for any of it. Just popping heads as he goes, leaving killers. As the last man standing, absolutely no chance for him here in a Blade Storm. Very nearly online already. So this is a terrifying prospect now for ACEND. In fact, I think they're actually going to give him that extra diffusal just to make sure that he gets it. He can drop that Bulldog over to a teammate, even having a little bit of fun, just baiting them with the diffuse. So 10-4. A long road. In fact, looking like an impossible road for ACEND at this point, but at least they now come in with a bye.
It's imperative that they pick this one up, I feel. The pistol... It's just these strong starts, like the first 10 to 15 seconds always looking pretty good from ACEND, but closing it out. It's almost like watching Fnatic of sort of stage 3, right? It's just the kind of like the decision making, the play. I don't even say you could just say like it's choking, it's just playing off of each other's pull. In a couple of those situations, players looking in various different directions and not trading off each other. It's a scramble, and that's not good luck from ACEND.
Here is that Blade Storm. Aggressive peek out. He not quite managing to escape. So at least the start that was wanted. Spam through.
There was an attempt.
There was. It's not going to really achieve anything at all. And again, still a few extra pieces in this round for Vivo KEYD. They've got themselves the Bulldog. A little bit of range added into what is mostly Spectres.
They're very scared of like this elbow tunnel position on B though. And the 0 point is about to come online for Zeke. He's not that far away from having an ult command, to be fair, but all of these players pushing for double door. Hold it to see if they can catch a player on switch. I like the idea from Vixen. Just peek out, try and catch him whilst they're not looking, but it's a bit more tighter play from Bone Cold.
Oh, if you say that, he's about to lose his life. Well, eventually, killers will be there with the trade, but this round is still not over. A 2 versus 3. Any more kills than this, and it's far more costly than they would have liked, and almost caught switching to the rifle, but hey, the rifle's been collected. Still having a couple of orbs available to actually heal and dismiss. Muras could take this one into his own hands. Now the afterplant looking decent already. Utility not going to play a part in this one really for the side of ACEND. It's more just those individual battles, the team play, the synergy, the crossfires, and while just waiting on the other side, it should have been an easy kill. Eventually will come through as ACEND are back on the board with a 5th, but we know that there's a bye coming.
I still think it's hit the round in any case, regardless how many members hit. But even just like the play from it, it was like trying to be coy, playing around this toxic screen. It worked out in the end from Starzo. Nice positioning to know that Murray was going to push through with a lair. Perfect positioning, stood in the right spot. But even like where Keyless was, he was pretty much hunkering down in this position as we see the round end. If he goes down, it can quickly unravel. It's not playing these set spots with utility ready. It's holding very close and hoping to catch off Vivo KEYD.
Again, early knife to clear any of those aggressive positions, and straight away with the null command, just going to go running into the site, removing the dash, but he's managed to reposition just off the edge of it. Still going to be caught and actually just take Zeke down straight away, of course. Opportunity to get rest, but never mind. Already the headshot coming through. Joe desperately wanting to add to his kill tally as he's just spamming through, and eventually they will kill him off. Nothing more for Zeke in this round, but he might have done enough trying to spot people early on the edge with the dismiss. But they have to watch out. There's a flank coming in. Killers could end this round in its tracks, but they're getting aggressive enough that they might be able to kill a few of the players before they come through. Vixen will land the shot as they wrap back around and leave this now onto just 2 players. The flanker, but more importantly, CNED. He's the one with the angle onto the spike, and he gets absolutely nothing. Just 1 player down, leaving it all onto Killers. He finds the burn, but he cannot close out Mures, who ends this round with a triple.
It's the fact that Vivo keyed as well. That Viper's Pit goes down on the side for ACEND in the plant. They actually kind of go in towards the back of the site to avoid Keyless coming in through double doors. They didn't even know he was there at this point. It's just kind of expecting that crunch to come through. They almost used the Viper's Pit to his advantage. Yet again, it forces ACEND to try and play up, play forward. And Vixen, well, we were talking about these other like duelist players finding those kills, finding those frags. Now even the support players are doing the same thing.
Yeah, we have now seen those pop-off moments from literally everyone on the side of Vivo KEYD, and this is the map that I would say they've actually looked best on, even considering the Icebox was into the pool, maybe picking it just because they didn't think they'd get it later. And he's taking no liberties, pushing all the way forward. Now, they've heard the Blade Storm popped. It's CNED having something at least a little bit extra, but hiding in this corner, it's not going to be checked. It's a freebie, and now he can just back away, wary just in case someone's going to try and peek up and trade him out, but he'll escape before anyone will be able to respond.
It was also just that 50-50 decision, making a recon that was in the hands of Bone Cold to try and clear him, but they decided against it. Like, in these scenarios, they're not sure what they want to do. Protocols have been better, and now Mures can sort of go to town with mid control. Starzo lurking late, even if he gets pretty far, there is a tripwire to stop him. Joe playing in this switch spot, kind of knows it. Go away.
Not today, thank you. Starzo, well, being literally shut out of this round. Shock darts to weaken him up. It's been looking a lot more disjointed in this map from ACEND, but the fact is Vivo KEYD have isolated those individual duels and they have won the majority of them. With 2 players remaining, it's forced into a save, and realistically, it's going to have to be a 7-round streak for ACEND. Otherwise, we are going to see the Brazilian team head into that upper bracket match.
And across like Vivo KEYD in this series, the mechanical skill is there, the firepower, we knew it would be. But just the team play, just the ideas, the defaults, the executes, the post plans, everything is a lot sharper. Now this looks like a Brazilian super team.
Yeah, this is what we've been waiting for, and while Starzo, there's no escape. Every gun removed. A Prime Gaming flawless round as well coming out from the side of Vivo KEYD. They are 1 round away from putting themselves on the map at Champions. We came into this event not knowing what to expect, not knowing what agents they played, not knowing how they would compete within a group that is a tough one. The grand finalists of the previous in EMEA, one of the best teams in a form of a original Masters champion, be it more of a local event. But they have come in, and they are 1 round away from knocking them into the lower bracket.
There is still that second chance at the very least. It's not elimination that we're talking about, but the topic of discussion probably coming up a bit earlier than ACEND were expected. Joe is under a lot of pressure. I think ACEND have it most. Joe is actually not afraid at all. He's got CNED with the plan. I think CNED's only had 2 or 3 kills on this attacking side so far.
It may not matter. It's already going to be the clear out heat going in, but it's Bone Cold who's bringing things back. 3 kills to save them. Keep them in this map at least as Killers. Drops Vixen. It's left onto this new man on the block. The Loney that is quickly making a name for himself, but not in this round. Zeke will put him in the grave and give them a 6th, but it is still a mountain to climb for ACEND.
Even just the idea of the round in total, hit B very quickly, overwhelmed. And Joe, he didn't feel overwhelmed at all. In fact, he's just like, I'm gonna go put, hey, how are you guys doing? You all right? I'm just gonna stop seeing it from planting the spike. Like, it's good clear up in the end, like Bone Cold, this is the sort of secondary entry play that you want to see. And it's just been two sides to ACEND that we've seen today. Like the brilliance on Bind, Breeze and Icebox though. In a map pool where they already typically ban Haven, doesn't matter who they're playing next, they're good maps to exploit. But still not out.
Yeah, again though, it's not a weak purchase coming back for Vivo KEYD. In fact, you've now got Heat on the operator, one away from a Blade Storm, and if he can finish this here and now, I don't think they're going to mind. Looking to try and garner at least a little bit of information. They look to try and burst into this A side, but actually it's only Zeke. Everybody else just waiting back behind, looking to try and push in alongside him. The flash is good, and it's a labored spray, but he gets the kill nonetheless. The spike yet to cross. So still not directly committed, but with two players already in, you'd expect them to make their way through, just waiting for the screen to be recharged. But look at this wraparound through mid.
Spike planted.
He also still have a bit of utility to throw in to try and catch them off. Mirrors is a little bit of spray. Vixen trading not seen it. So again, it's this high line. KEYD managing to slip through. You need these kind of moments. And now what's Vivo KEYD's buy like?
Yeah, this is where they start to suffer a little bit. I will still say if the Blaze Storm survived through this round, I think there's still a threat for sure. But yeah, I think this is just the difference now for ACEND. Just pick up that pace a little bit, back to the basics, not try and overthink anything too much, and give the opportunity for someone like KEYD to have these later lurk plays. And in back-to-back rounds, it's multi-frags coming out from the side of ACEND.
Take up if they have. No.
And Vixen as well. He was on Vorax. He was one of the most sought-after players on that team. It feels. Now it's all starting to come together, and ACEND, if they can get that confidence up, you know, there's maybe some mental break, mental boom that Vivo KEYD can come into. But really, I haven't seen that at all, other than the map that ACEND have been dominant on versus everybody, and that being Bind. Here, it's just been responses after responses.
Early aggression. Already Heat looking for the opener, but again, I think that's two Blade Storms he's popped that Zeke has been able to deny. Already earning up the null command in a round of eco. Might be something they want to pop just to try and make this a little bit more awkward. A couple of tags coming through from MW0, and actually a fair few low players now on the side of ACEND. Still an awful lot to do for the remainder, but they can make this one costly. Left onto Vixen. They need something truly heroic to close this out, and it isn't going to happen. 12-8. ACEND slowly grinding these rounds back, and maybe hoping they can do to Vivo KEYD what 100 Thieves did to them.
Yeah, at least the rest of ACEND are sort of coming together now a little bit more. CNED really not having the money to certainly buy up an operator. Now he's got it in hand. Just the fact that you have 3 ultimates on this defense, the buy is there. There is a null command, but the other ultimate's not likely to be online unless KEYD and Starzo pop off a little bit more. Maybe again, that's one of the reasons why they're going to be, and from all of the hits we've seen, it's been so high tempo.
Yeah, I assume this is going to be fast as well. The fact that Starzo has the operator means that CNED's probably about to just launch himself straight into the site and look to put the pressure onto Joe, and he's already gone. So much utility just forcing them back, although there is a trade. The Hunter's Fury actually finding a couple of tags here and there. He has managed to get another one, and this leaves Zeke isolated on the site. The remaining couple of players just trying to hold from the backlines. The wraparound from Bone Cold could be absolutely everything.
Yeah, that elbow control is going to be so important, but they really need to help out Zeke in this situation. There's an important kill for Bone Cold. Zeke is still holding on, but he is putting up the pressure. He's starting to try and cook the KO alive, but Mura is actually getting behind.
Zeke. One more, a 2 versus 2 scenario, and they have to clear this man from the flank. It's left all on to Zeke to try and close this one out, but it isn't going to be happening. It is Vivo KEYD that head through it to the upper bracket, and ACEND have already faltered in this tournament. They had a rough time when they came to Berlin for the first